Yeah. Gonna go ahead and hit a child, are you?
I'm glad you also said that because I felt the same way.
What about the medal?
The middle of Penguin.
Yeah. That'll think will be its yeah, that'll be its own whole conversation, but, like, yeah, there's a yeah, not good. Uh,
Wash,
did you ad
bro.
did you actually advertise this time? Did you tell your followers, or did you go to your Discord server?
I didn't. I was like, I'm not doing this again.
What do you mean now?
Chat,
We
we are in
started.
shambles. Chat, say real.
So the thing about advertising, Sheep, is that you have to kind of do it before you drop the product, otherwise no one knows what the fuck is going on.
Yeah, but if you do that, you can
Yeah,
pre-schedule.
here's an interesting factoid for your interesting factoid. A, you can pre-schedule, but B, you don't even need a link to let people know that a stream is going to happen.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
The writers of Arcane Season 2. Yeah, I didn't feel like doing that. Fuck it. Alright, fine. I'll do it. The writers were trying to connect the bridge between part 1 and part 2 of Penguin. There you go.
I like your setup for this stream.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't make you a Pingu cover. I'm sorry.
True.
Advertisements. Abs. Yeah, sure. You know what? Fine. I'll give you that one. I am. It was really good. I liked it a lot. It's nice that we get to
Good
talk about things that are
Pingu.
good for once.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No.
Mm-hmm. Actually, I was just thinking, like, when Aardman Studios do their Pingu reboot, we could literally do an actual Pingu stream.
11-hour long.
Yeah,
In-depth
Pingu stream.
critique.
Yes,
I don't know.
please.
I mean, I guess it just depends how good it is. If it's good, I guess we will. If it's not, I'm not really that motivated. Well, then I'm
If
not that
it's bad,
motivated.
if it's bad, there might be. I mean, you can still get good coverage out of that, right?
I mean, it's not going to be bad. It's got Feathers McGraw.
Okay.
Hold on, let me.
I can hear you on the stream.
Oh yeah, I don't hear you.
What? Hold on.
All right, give me a second. I'll go onto the stream and I'll see if I can hear you.
I checked the stream.
I don't hear you. You're muted.
Okay.
No,
yeah,
I don't
Andrew's
hear you.
right. Andrew's right.
Technical difficulties. You know. Just...
Well, no. It's,
yeah.
I was about to say, like, the solution to this is we just take over the stream and launch a soft coup. Yeah. Well,
our
Sheep's gone.
channel now.
It's our channels now, comrade.
You son of a bitch! You have any idea what kind of trouble you could be in? You could be an accessory to murder.
Okay, so the thing is, I love that guy's voice for how funny it is, but also it is actually just his voice.
I know it's his voice. I am not making fun of him. I am not like,
he's actually one of our 43 listeners or 46 listeners just right now, being like, he's like, oh, I can't wait to hear them talk about this street. And then it's like Southpaw just mocking his voice. Oh no, I'm sorry.
He's great. We love him.
He is great. The thing is, unironically, I was really glad to see how many like returning small faces from the Batman movie were in the show. Like it does make it feel a lot more well connected. So kudos to that.
I just wish that there was a certain face that returned here that it is fairly important to this world.
Hmm. Well, actually, the thing is, that's almost like a thing you can forgive until the midway point. So I guess that'll come under the discussions of the midway point, right?
Yeah.
In the first half, it's a bit more small scale and like it's all happening within a week and a half or so. So there's excuses for why a certain individual may not have been involved. Although I would still say that there's his absence is still felt in the way that the mobsters go about their plans, as though he doesn't exist, which is a bit strange.
Manimal in chat says, "Did Salvatore Maroni walk out of prison with a gut wound?" We will get to that. That is a
he did a lot more than just walk out of prison with a gut wound.
Yeah,
that is a huge fucking problem that we have with the show.
Yeah. We'll get to the middle. We'll get to the middle because there's so much to talk about in the middle bit. So I guess the first thing to do then. Actually, do we want to wait for Sheep to get back before we fully start breaking it down?
We should probably wait.
I'll check.
Chat, can you hear Sheev or is he still cooked?
Nope, they can't hear you.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, hold on. Let me pull up.
I've been muted to see if
Sheev spaghetti is upsetting.
Okay, wait, no, okay, Sheev, okay. So you're using Streamlabs, right? Okay, so under mic and auxiliary, like is the thing actually moving when you're speaking? Okay, so that I'm gonna take that as a no. So you click on the little cog, okay? You go to properties, and then it's gonna there's gonna be a thing called device. You click on that, and then like whatever mic you use that's hooked up to your PC, you click on that. All right.
Awkward silence.
Southpaw.
That can't be what actually happened.
That obviously I fucking know that. Okay, Jesus fucking Christ. I'll figure it out. You guys.
All right, I can hear you on the stream.
You can hear me?
Wait, what?
I literally haven't adjusted anything.
I heard you on the stream.
What in the fuck? I hate Streamlabs. Jesus Christ.
I think that's a skill issue. I don't have issues like this.
We
Unless,
fixed it, boys.
I literally
I'll be honest,
changed nothing.
Sheep, that's a little bit suspicious. No,
Sure.
Sheep, that's a little bit suspicious. Yeah, because what happened was like, Southpaw just walked you through a correction where you were like, "Fuck you," and then there was silence, and then suddenly everyone can hear you, and you're like, "Oh, well, obviously I knew that, Southpaw." I'm like,
I'm sorry, Sheep. Like Jolly and I have played Among Us with you enough to know when you're live.
That's it. I'm ending the stream. Goodbye.
All right, Pingu, good. Go watch.
It was fun.
No, but seriously, I actually didn't touch anything, and I felt very condescended to just now when Southpaw explained this very basic thing to me.
Good thing I didn't launch it with my next comment though, which was like, I don't know what it is about like Gen Z, but like for a generation that grew up with technology, you guys suck at using it. I don't know why.
That's it. I'm kicking all of you. Fuck off.
All right, this is gonna be a solo stream.
Anyway,
you know what? Yeah, everyone, I'll go finally play more Red Dead.
Just to spite all of
now
you,
that we can hear
the penguin is bad. That's my opinion now. Fuck you.
No.
Well,
that's
now
so
that
crazy.
I guess it's time to launch in. So, Chief, now that people can literally hear the sound of your voice, why don't you launch us into it?
We're 9 minutes into the fucking stream. I'm just angry. I'm seething and I'm coping and I'm molding. So, Matthew Reeves, a gentleman who has who has graced our screens with The Batman in 2022, the year of our Lord, came out with a little show recently about a guy with like a gimp leg who calls himself the Birdman or something, and it's actually not terrible. Which is strange, because I was under the impression everything nowadays is supposed to be terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And we're here today to tell you guys why it is, in fact, not terrible, if you'd be so inclined to listen.
Which will mostly consist of us just gushing about like how it all worked really well for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess the thing to start off with is like obviously at the end of the Batman, Selina gives Bruce her little speech about how things are going to get worse before they get better, and how he's going to have to really step up, and he drives off into the dusk on his bike, and amongst the shots we have of like Batman being like things will get worse before they get better is a shot of Oswald Cobblepot, the owner of the ice. Well, I guess it's just Oswald Cobb in this universe, the Penguin, the owner of the Iceberg Lounge, and. Yeah, and the underboss, or one of the underbosses to the late Carmine Falcone, standing in Carmine's rooms, staring out his windows at the city. And the implication is that like he's going to make a grab for power. And then we start off this show, which I think starts off a couple of nights after.
It's like a week,
that? Or like
I
a
think
week
is what
after.
they say.
Yeah.
And also that shot that you just referred to from the Batman is literally just the same shot as him like coming into this room here at the beginning of the show and looking out the window, which I guess the implication is like we're picking up like right after we left off. Like this is immediately following the Batman, which of course means the city is flooded and the state of the world is forever changed by some incel with 500 followers who decided he didn't like poor people.
Incels rise up, man. Let's go.
Hell
We're getting
yeah.
things done.
I have a question. This isn't a critique. I'm just a genuine question. How long does it take to unflood a city?
2 minutes.
Probably quite a while, I imagine.
I mean,
2 minutes.
just
Apparently, like a week.
all you gotta do.
I mean, Gotham
Well,
wasn't built
all
in
you
a
gotta do
day,
is-
so
I mean, all you gotta do is just like look at look back at the response to Hurricane Katrina, and see how that affected New
Yeah.
Orleans.
See, all you gotta do
that
is
took months.
all you gotta do is take a straw and just start slurping up.
Yeah.
Yummers.
I guess there's also the problem of like especially in Gotham, which is like an incredibly corrupt city, where the nature of the flooding was that like seawall defenses got blown sky high by bombs, so it was under the sea level anyway.
Well, and also
this is going to take a while to fix.
The place that got hit was majorly like Crown Point, like the poorer cities, right?
Yeah,
so
the
like
poor areas.
they just don't have really any kind of priority to help them, as this show and the Batman both go to great lengths to tell us.
Well, yeah, we see later on that that like other parts of the city that got flooded, like the place where Bella Real gave her speech, like the rich areas have been given the attention, way earlier. Like they're already well on their way to being fixed / back on their feet, whereas poor areas like Crown Point have basically just been forgotten about and no one cares.
I have a question though. So, isn't Crown Point fairly close to Gotham Square Garden?
Well, I mean that's
is
that's the stadium where Bella Real was giving her speech, right, and then got flooded.
Right.
So I guess it would have to be right.
So then, I guess my question would be like, why would Gotham Square Garden be in like one of the poorer areas of the city?
Well, no, my point is like, so I'm pretty sure the Riddler's bombs weren't all in just one area. Like they're just along the seawall, along various
True.
points in the city, and there's bombs
True,
on the
yeah,
other
like-
side of the bay, of the river as well.
Okay, true. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm stupid.
No,
Yeah,
you're not.
yeah, there's-
you're,
there's, like-
you're a smart
there's-
fella or a fart smeller.
There's 7. I forgot. Yeah, there's 7 car
7
bombs
vans
that go off.
are just
Yeah.
Yeah. Located at strategic points along the seawall in various places.
They-
I mean, also, it makes sense given Riddler's motivations that he would also target the rich areas, to be honest, rather than just trying to flood the poor ones.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. But why did Riddler flood the city? I don't know. That is a mystery to me.
Is he stupid? Anyway, yeah, so like, Oz is in this room, which are Carmine's rooms, and he's there because he's trying to ransack Carmine's safe for something. Some photographs that will become important later. And he finds them. I think he also finds some jewelry, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, as he's ransacking, who should walk in, if not Carmine Falcone's son, who is
Well-
now apparently the Don in waiting.
Alberto.
The jewelry will be important too, because that was what Alberto and Sophia were going to use to pay the people who supplied them the bliss. So the fact that it ends up in Penguin's possession implies something to Sophia that he has to then kind of explain away.
Talk his way out of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
I guess I have a question, which is why does Alberto need the jewelry if he's the Don in waiting? Surely he could just pay for his shit.
I guess the suppliers asked for that specific jewelry.
I guess the more logical answer would be that that whilst he is the Don in waiting, that doesn't actually mean that he's going to end up as the Don. And from what we see of him, like I sincerely doubt he's smart enough to maneuver his way into the position of ultimate power. You know, when put up against some of the other rivals he'd have from within the family, like his uncle.
I mean, it seemed like he was basically being gifted the position, like without having to work for it. That seemed to be the implication, that he was just basically going to inherit the empire for himself.
Yeah,
sure, but like that's all very well in principle, but like in practice, you know, the second he becomes Don, he's either going to be tried. Other people will try and use him as a puppet, or they'll just get rid of him. Like, you know, these aren't the most stable of organizations. The people tend to be quite ambitious.
What are you talking about? They're all good men.
They're all great. Yeah, they're all a loving family who never do terrible things to each other that come back to haunt them in horrible ways.
It was perfect, but no, you just had to go and blow it all up. You and your pride and your ego.
pride and your ego.
Also, I feel like I should say this now. I don't necessarily want to go through the whole show chronologically like we do with other, you know, like bad things that deserve to be, you know, with something like The Acolyte, we have to go through it scene by scene because there's so much wrong with every scene.
This is a scene where I think you have to like not do a full breakdown, but at least a partial breakdown, just because it sets up basically everything going forward.
Slov, why are you sending pictures of naked penguin in the chat right now? What the hell is this?
Hey.
Why
It's
not?
a great scene, dude. That's actually the best scene, I think, of the first episode. I did not
I do
expect
love
that. Like,
I think the first episode is like
That's
one
the best
of the
one.
best. I think it's one of the best like pilot episodes ever. It's
Oh,
so
yeah.
good.
It's really good.
Yeah, really puts you into the world.
That and
like, tells you everything you need to know about the characters and the setting, and just it's all great stuff.
Like the twist at the end, or not twist, like the thing that like, oh, the penguin's been behind all of it, and he's like pulling the strings on this operation. Like I was watching with a friend one day because he was showing me the show, and I just audibly just gasped because like it was just like insane. Like the shot, like when it's going over the trunk, I'm like, oh my god, that's the car. And then it cuts back to Penguin just like smiling. I'm like, oh my god, he's done it.
He's a little guy.
that was a great payoff. Great payoff. Pigeon did it. Good for Pigeon.
Pidge boy.
Still Pigeon did it. But yeah, like just to round off that scene then, so we can get into like the more broad strokes. Yeah, so Alberto and Oz like start chatting around, and we get the first little hint here because oddly Oz has been caught in a slightly compromising position here, and Alberto's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" We see the first hint of something that Oz is really good at, which is talking his way out of trouble. He is really, really good at manipulating people and thinking on his feet.
It was really funny.
Being very casual about like, like he has a gun pointed at him after being caught robbing the place, and he just kind of shrugs and goes like, yeah, I'm glad you're here because I was coming to get these for you, but you saved me the trip.
I always like characters like this, and one of my other favorite examples of this is I don't know if anyone here has seen Ozark.
Nope.
Oh, I have not.
I know of it. That's Jason Bateman, right?
Yeah, it falls off in the final season, but like the first few seasons are pretty good, and Jason Bateman is just phenomenal at this very same sort of thing. I've always really liked seeing characters that can just like very slyly talk their way out of situations like this.
Well, yeah, it's great for so many character reasons, right? Because it tells you it's a very hard thing to write, first of all, but secondly, like, and, convincingly. But secondly, like, it tells you so much about the nature of a character, like their ability to function under pressure, their moral perspective in terms of like being able to like manipulate and being willing to manipulate. Particularly with the kinds of information he'll drop at exactly the right moments to flatter or to pressure people in exactly the right ways. But, and this is what the bit I really love about the scene, we get that moment of like he talks Alberto around and they start chatting, and like, Alberto's starting to take drugs and Penguin is very carefully, not doing that so that he remains in control of the situation. But then Alberto gets cocky and starts like, basically bullying Penguin and being like, "Oh, you're the Penguin, you're the gimp, you're the guy with the broken leg, like fuck you, basically." And like instantly that control goes out the window. Penguin's berserk button gets pushed, and he just pulls out a gun and fucking blows Alberto away, even though this is like the Don in waiting.
Not a smart move,
Like,
but a very in character move. Given everything we know about him.
Yeah. Well, I guess there's a question. Like, was it in that as impulsive as it seemed? Because obviously he goes to see his mother later, And he's like, "Oh, I fucked up. I did this thing." And she's like, "No, you didn't fuck up. You meant to do that. Like, you saw there was an opportunity. Some part of you saw that there's an opportunity in this chaos, and you took it."
Well, harping on what you're not harping, but like adding on to what you're saying, another great thing of what that does for a character is it keeps the audience guessing of how much they are planning ahead and how much they're having to act in the moment. Because they can be caught red-handed, but they also have a few steps ahead of where they need to be, and they know that. So this can be an opportunity to maybe jump a few steps as well.
Yeah, it's a really what I love about this, like the jump between apparently in control to apparently out of control, and as the mother hints at later, is there's a certain level to which this is a facade. Even the losing of control is a facade from Penguin, that you really can't trust anything about what he presents to other characters and to the audience in the show. And they're like, I'm sure, like we see this later. This is a berserk button for him. He does not like being mocked for his disability or reminded of his disability or thought of as weak. He hates it. However, just because it's a berserk button doesn't actually mean he's going to go berserk. Or if he does go berserk, there'll be calculation even behind that. So,
like later when VD is making fun of him for being a cripple, he goes ham on him, but like that's all in service to scaring the living daylights out of him so that he'll do what he wants.
And to convince Sophia that he's on her side.
Yeah.
Right.
There's layers to it where like it is a berserk button, but like the only thing the berserk button actually did was to push him towards one kind of calculation rather than the more cautious one. Because like I think that's what's actually happening when he's sitting there listening to Alberto's bullshit. Is that he's deciding, like, do I play it safe and just like take a role under this new boss and like suck up to him like I did with Carmine, or do I make a play for the chaos? And it's that little moment of like where he realizes Alberto doesn't respect him. The same way that Carmine didn't respect him, that he's not going to get a fair shot at getting higher in the organization. That he's like, well, fuck this guy then, and just blows him away and makes a play for the bigger slice of the pie.
Yep.
I don't even think he's necessarily like fully aware of that calculation himself. Like I think his immediate remorse of like, oh shit, maybe I should have been cautious after the fact is genuine. But as his mother points out, yeah, it's never just that he's out of control. That's just not his character.
I mean, isn't a part of his decision to blow Alberto away also informed by Alberto's like mockery of what Penguin says about this this one gangster he knew? Yeah,
Well, yeah,
and like belittling like Penguin's aspiration.
That goes back to Penguin not feeling that he's going to be respected by this person because like he looked up to Rex Calabrese as, you know, as what he wants to be for the people that he cares about, like the guy in the neighborhood who provides and is looked up to and who's respected and who people mourn when he dies and everything to do with that. Like he like deeply values the idea of being that person, and so to have
being liked,
you know, yeah, being liked and being respected and being like revered, but also feared and you know, just all those things at once. And so to have this fucking brat kid basically be like, you know, start disrespecting and mouthing off about someone that he looked up to as a child, and who he sees himself trying to fill the role of, like, that's obviously going to trigger that same sort of gut reaction of like, well, fuck you then.
There's an interesting, you know, without jumping ahead to specific events, there's a really interesting, it's like almost subversion of theme that happens in the show that I really, really, really fucking adore. Because initially it's set up, and this scene kind of sets that up, right? Of like that Oz is like he's the lower class, like, you know, even within the criminal organization in Gotham, there are like there's a class hierarchy, and like if you're not born to the right neighborhood and the right people, even in the criminal world, you're not going to get ahead. And so Oz presents himself, and the show sort of presents him as like this empathetically, you know, underdog from the lower end and the poor areas, who's never given the respect he deserves and is never going to be given a seat at the table, and he's leading an almost like class revolution within the criminal organized crime world. And that seems like where they're going, but then the ending totally subverts that and be like, no, actually the theme of the show is that these trappings of civilization that the top echelons of the so-called aristocracy, both in the real world and in the criminal world, cloak themselves in, is a lie. And really it's just dog eat dog. Well, it's just dog eat dog, and everyone who is making a play for power is a savage beast, and it doesn't matter how many fancy houses they dress themselves in, you know, they clothe themselves in, or how much like pandering children they have fawning over them. That's the true nature of that kind of person. And I think that's excellent. I think that's really good because it draws. It also means that it links back into the Batman really well in terms of like the Riddler was that, right? The Riddler wanted to present himself as like a hero, but really he was just an angry asshole lashing out at the world. Whereas Batman is the antithesis of that. Like, he's actually someone in a position of power who's actually trying to help, not for attention, not for fawning, not to make himself feel better, but just because he cares.
Yeah, I was
so
afraid.
I really love that comparison.
In the wake of things like the the live action Sony Spider-Man movies, where like you got these Spider-Man villains that are being recontextualized as like heroes or anti-heroes or what have you. I was really afraid of the direction the show seemed to be taking, where it was like, yeah, Penguin is this man of the people who, like, you know, say what you will about him, but he does actually genuinely respect the people underneath him, and will go out of his way to do things to make their lives better, because he really does care about the neighborhood, and that's what this is all about. Like, you know, going and threatening Councilman Haiti to get the power back on, which he was really only doing because his mom kept bitching, but like still, like, doing this for the community that I'm trying to support. And I was like, this is cool and all, but you're sort of characterizing him as like less of a villain and more as like a redeemable character. Like, you know, the best of a bad situation, the lesser of two evils. Like, if it's a toss up between him and someone like the Falcones or the Maronis, like, I'll take him all the time, like all day, every day. But then, yeah, what he does at the end of the show immediately makes you remember, like, oh yeah, no, this guy's a piece of fucking shit, and like, you should not respect him. You should not want to be him. He's a bad person.
Yeah, I mean, that's the tragedy, right, of Victor's character, is that like he starts off fearful of the Penguin because like he's been told by his parents, by his girlfriend, and their associations, and the like the gangbangers he knew from his neighborhood, the low end guys. His idea of criminals is just like monsters, like really irredeemable thug evil bastards, and like there's no good in the middle. There's no noble thieves. It's just awful people. And then he, through desperation and through, you know, coercion, falls into the Penguin's world, and the Penguin seems to treat him with like all this love and respect and like care. And even when he's like sort of threatening Victor, it's almost like more of a teachable moment than it is like a genuine threat. And like over time, Victor's like, oh wow, he cares about me in a way that like no one else seems to since my parents died. Like, I've been forgotten about. I fell through the cracks, but he sees me. Oz sees me, and he respects me, and he cares about the neighborhood. Like, he turned the lights back on. Like, he's one of us. And Victor goes, full out for this cause. And by the end, Victor is like, has totally compromised his own morals in service of like the idea that Oz is ultimately like loyal to the community, and that's what matters, that family matters. And then he's fucking murdered by Oz.
And I just,
because he's just a loose end.
The thing that I appreciate about Vic's entire story is that episode 3 took the time to make sure you understood that this was a choice that he was making, right? Because like, obviously at first Penguin takes him hostage, so it's not really Victor's fault that he's in this situation, right? But like, as things cool off and as they start to really kind of like get closer to each other, Vic is offered a chance to just leave. Like not even just like escape from outside of Penguin's, out from under his thumb, but like Penguin himself is like, just go. Like, I'm not pointing a gun at you anymore. You can just go. And Vic is the one who makes the choice to go back and save Oz and get, thrust himself further into this world. So like now the tragedy is like he had a chance to get out, but he had felt like, all his life that he wasn't going to amount to anything. And that like he was never given a fair chance to amount to anything, and then suddenly this guy gave him a chance to be something and be someone that mattered, and he took that, and it cost him everything in the end.
Yeah, ironically, Penguin himself kind of like foreshadows this, right? Because Penguin, when he's griping to Victor about how the Falcones look down on people like them and they never give you a fair shot, and the idea in America, or indeed in civilization, that you can work your way up from nothing to the top is a lie designed to keep you in your place, and they'll never actually give you a chance. Like, yeah, that's what Vic latches onto, because Vic is assuming that they're the same, on the same side in that equation. But what Penguin's really saying is like, yeah, I'll fuck you over at the first chance, man. Like, you don't matter to me. Like, at the end of the day, everyone is expendable. There's no us and them. It's just we're all us and we're all terrible, and we'll all fuck each other over to get on top.
I think the thing is, like,
seize your chances when they come.
To say Vic doesn't matter to Penguin is a bit reductive. Like, I think he does. I think that's why he kills him in the end, is because he doesn't want anyone left to be used against him by whatever enemies come out of the woodwork.
Yeah, like, family makes you weak.
He does.
I don't think I agree.
Okay.
Well, my response to that would be like, I think that's an element of confusion within his own character. Not bad writing, just like an element of his own character not having come to a realization about himself yet, which is like Penguin still wants to think of himself as like vaguely heroic, even though he isn't. And he's fully acknowledged that he's, his actions don't speak to that, but he'd like to believe in the lie. The realization he gets from his mother saying that she hated him and always has at the end, and like the idea that you can't really trust family is not that he's like, oh, therefore I must cut my ties to this boy I really like. It's just him acknowledging a truth about himself, which is like he was more in love with the idea of Victor and liking him than he actually cared about Victor.
And he got what he wanted, regardless. So,
yeah. So once he had what he wanted, Victor was nothing more than a vulnerability, because he didn't need Victor anymore for that love and attention. Really, now he's the boss.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
and Vic knows, and unfortunately, Vic knows too much. He knows where the bodies are buried.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, part of it is just like as Vic even pointed out to his girlfriend, like he kept him around because he was lonely. But I like at the same time, like I don't want to discount the fact that like he seemed to initially take a liking to Vic on the basis that like he saw himself in him to an extent, like a disabled kid from a poor neighborhood who has no possible opportunity of like getting anywhere in life. You know, and like I think Penguin saw that and found some camaraderie in there, like and some, to an extent, genuine friendship, even if it ultimately he still valued his own power and his own success over anything else, right?
See, I think you're falling into the same trap that you decried a second ago, where like there's the danger of humanizing Penguin when the show is very explicit at the end that like, no, this is not a redeemable man. He is just a total monster. I think what's again, like I think that that's almost like an illusion. What's actually really happened there is like, it's not that when you say like he saw himself in Victor, like I agree, but it's not that he found like empathy for Victor. It's like it's literally just that he cares about himself, and he only cared about Victor to the extent that he saw Victor as himself. Really?
Yeah, he killed his brothers, dude.
Yeah, like this,
he didn't care.
Well, did he do that on purpose?
Like
because I feel
monster.
like the penultimate episode that deals with that flashback kind of leaves it ambiguous if he like meant to actually kill Jack and Benny.
Well, he left them.
I feel like he knows.
He could have
told
anyone
them.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
He
They're there
lied
for
about
hours,
it.
if not days.
He knew they were drowning. That's what that little cup, like the cup overflowing with the water, that's what that shot meant. Like he knew that was happening.
He's just like, he doesn't care. Like he knew it. I guess you could say like his selfishness and pity could be like so subconscious that he doesn't even realize that it's happening sometimes. But it's like he, in that moment, like he knows what he's doing. Like he wants all the attention for himself. So he's like, I don't care. I'm petty. These guys like bullied me. I'm just gonna let them like drown there. He couldn't even like I mean, maybe there's an argument to be said that he doesn't care about them, or he didn't know that they were drowning. But even then, like at the end of the day, he knew and he still didn't care. Like he didn't confess until he didn't even confess in the
oh
like,
yeah,
the
no,
finale.
like that's the thing, is like whether it was an accident or not, like what's done is done as far as he's concerned, and he's not like, he's taken that shit to his grave because he doesn't want his mom to view him in any other way, and he thinks that she loves and adores him, and now he has her all to himself. But like in the moment, like I don't think he slammed the door on them with the intention of like, oh, I'm gonna just leave you here to fucking drown. And then hours later, when he's watching a movie with his mom, that he was even really thinking like, are they still like stuck there, or are they just out doing whatever? Like I don't necessarily know if he just knew they were dying in that moment.
I don't think he intended to kill them when he like shut the door on them, but him just kind of leaving them there, knowing that they were going to probably drown. Yeah, exactly. Like,
well, it's the same with killing. It's the same with killing the son, right? Like he does it, and then he's like, "All right, well, I just did that. It's time to capitalize on that."
Yeah, it's on profit.
Because the thing is, I don't
step two.
I don't want to oversimplify it in terms of like, yeah, Penguin is just a monster with no redeemable qualities, and this like the point I was trying to get at earlier when I said that was that like, you know, you can still be a human being who has human emotions and has like to an extent cares about people, while still ultimately being out for yourself, and like none of that matters like ultimately if it gets in the way of me, number one, right? Like he can care about Vic to an extent, while still also recognizing that like the second he becomes a problem, he needs to go.
I'm going to push back. Sorry, neuroscientist in the room. I'm going to push back on that a little bit. The nature of things like intense narcissism and intense what we would usually have, until recently have been called psychopathy, but obviously that's not a medical term, so don't use that medically. But the kind of characteristics we're referring to when we talk about psychopaths is that they don't view other people as like, well, yeah, it's like they have no empathy. So like they are aware of other people as an abstract concept, and they're aware of other minds as an abstract concept, but they don't actually have any feeling of connection to them. So the only thing they'll only feel connection to concepts. Actually, sociopath rather than psychopath. the only the time they'll have empathy for anyone is towards themselves. So they'll only have empathy towards other people in as much as they see them as a projection of themselves or an extension of themselves. The second that's no longer true, or the second that like the central version themselves takes precedence, they'll discard the other one. It's a very alien way of viewing the world to regular people.
That's interesting you say that, because at that point, when Penguin kills Vic, he's on top at that point. He's no longer at I'm a foot soldier kind of level anymore. Like we're no longer equals trying to solve this problem. I'm officially the problem for other people, and you could possibly be the problem for me. So, like you said, it's like that part that he would see himself in Vic is no longer there. Do you get what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all he sees now is the vulnerability.
Yeah, that's why he would kill him.
Sorry, Andrew. I've just seen your message in chat. Fuck you.
Wait, what did he say?
Actually. Says the man literally called actually Andrew.
I had to get it in.
Yeah, no, fair. I should perhaps word like forgive me if I come across as a little condescending sometimes. That's not my intention. It's just I go into teacher mode, so do call me out if I start doing that.
No, that's why I want you here. You know shit about shit. That's why we're doing this.
Do you
it could either mean that I know a lot about it or I know nothing about it, because I know shit about shit.
You don't know Jack about Jack.
Who Jack?
But I mean, yeah, I guess that's a fair assessment of Penguin. It's just, yeah, I guess it's really easy to fall into that trap of like what a good little guy he is, who like he does care about like to an extent. When yeah, like in reality he's a fucking narcissist and he's a monster, and like even in his relationship with his mom, you get the impression very very explicitly when like Sophia's fucking torturing her that like he believes that he cares about her, but is ultimately willing to just like let them like throw her to the dogs basically if it means not confessing to the thing that he did, that she already knows that he did. Because like ultimately everything is about him. He is the man. You know, he's the.
Actually, I've got a way to kind of like sum this up even more concisely, right? Because I totally agree with you here. The difference between like how regular, and I think this is why when people like normal people like you like watch the show, like you're still like subconsciously like you're just constantly looking for ways to make Penguin redeemable. And the reason you do that is because you have genuine empathy, and like that's the difference, right? Like when most people look at each other, we sort of like view it as like a two-way mirroring, right? Of like not only do I see myself in you, I see parts of you in me, and that's that kind of mutual exchange of selves is what allows us to be bonded so closely as a species, right? Like we're a social species. And narcissists and sociopaths don't have that second part. They only see themselves and others. They don't see anything of other people in themselves, and so it's really superficial and shallow. And like that's the interesting thing, because like, yeah, you watch the show and you're like, you're falling into the same trap that Victor does. You're like, oh, there is good. Like, yeah, he does all these terrible things, but like, surely he sees himself in me and myself in him as well. And Penguin doesn't see any of you in him. You only exist for him so long as you're like him. And the second that's no longer true, or the second it's more valuable to him for you not to exist, out you go.
Yeah, Sheev, you're weak, dude.
Yeah.
No, it's not weak. I'm like,
I'm joking. I'm joking.
Be empathetic.
I was also going to say too, when it came to his mom, notice how he keeps his mom at the end is that she's comatose and she's crying and she can't do anything.
Yeah.
After she asked him to not do that,
said exactly the opposite.
She's in a controlled state. Yeah, she's like a doll for him at this point. She's in his life, but she has she can't go anywhere.
She was always like a prize to be won as far as he was concerned. Like her being proud of me for this thing that I have, the self-made man that I've become, is like one of the reasons he has always aspired to be the Rex Calabrese of all of Gotham, right? Like the guy who provides for everyone, because he likes the idea of being that person who is genuinely valued by like everyone in the neighborhood. He doesn't actually care about providing for them for the sake of that everyone looks up to and goes to for help, Like there's something very fulfilling about that as an idea.
Makes me question how Rex was.
Rex,
he seemed like he cared about his mom, though.
I mean, because like with Rex, like Penguin obviously had this idealized version of him that he idolized, but like Rex was still a gangster, and every single time we see him in the show, he's either killing someone, threatening to kill someone, or telling Francis, "Hey, give me your son and I'll fucking kill him for you." Like, I mean, he's probably not the best guy. He wasn't the best guy around.
On top of that, there's a really funny thing that happens with Rex in that scene where the mum is like talking to Rex about how she wants him to kill. We can obviously, the way Rex phrases that is like, oh, because when she's like, my son is a monster. Rex's reaction is not to be like, oh my god. It's to be like, well, there's different ways of there's different ways of using that.
You can be with me.
I could make him a soldier. I could make him a soldier, but if he's the kind of one who's so if he just wants a daddy figure, like you can use that. If on the other hand he's just out for himself, eventually he'll betray you and bite you in the ass. So you're like it's a mad dog and has to be put down, and I'm willing to do that for you.
I was gonna say, notice like we never see how Rex dies and how Penguin just kind of brushes that off. I had a feeling they're probably setting something up for that for season 2 because if they're gonna do more flashbacks, because I have a theory that Penguin probably killed Rex. Do you remember how he kind of like says like, oh yeah, he kind of did this thing and pissed somebody off?
I don't know if that would fit with the version of Rex that the Penguin believes him to have been, right? Like that he's aspiring to be. I guess it did.
But he liked Vic, right? But he killed Vic.
No. I just mean that like, I guess I'd want to know the context of him killing Rex if that's what he did, right? Like if it was a matter of they became enemies or something, then yeah, I don't see Penguin still like idolizing him years down the line. But if it was just a matter of like, I'm going to kill you so that I can climb to your rung of the ladder, then like I could totally see.
Yeah, I think it'll be like a Sophia Falcone situation, like the first time round, right, where he betrays her because it gives him a boost.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Which I guess if we're done talking about Penguin's character, brings us nicely to Sophia, who is my personal favorite on the show.
Mm-hmm.
To kind of piggyback off of what we were just talking about, like her relationship with Oz, in the 10 years ago flashbacks, back when they were still friends, quote unquote, is kind of interesting because like we have this understanding of Penguin as like, having seen the whole show of like, ultimately she was just a stepping stone for him, just like anyone else, and that like he didn't really ever care about her. But like, because she's actually a person who feels empathy, I do wonder like to what extent she valued her friendship with him back when he was her driver,
Yeah, I guess this is an interesting question because I have two thoughts on this. Like, I'm not quite sure which side of the coin I land on here. Does Sophia actually have empathy?
I think
she viewed him as a driver. She even got mad when he walked in the house. Remember? She's like, "Why are you in the house?"
I mean, she was more just confused. Like, what are you doing here?
Well, I guess,
and even then, like you can be a snob and still have empathy, right? I think the thing that makes you question it, because obviously the show, this is like her realization at the end is like, oh my god, I'm becoming a monster, and so she tries to pull herself out of it, because like she goes to Arkham to pressure a small girl into shutting the fuck up about the fact that she murdered all of her parents and all of her relatives.
Well, yeah, but then after leaving the room, she kind of like has an anxiety attack and a breakdown, having realized like what she has just done to this little girl. Well, that's what propels her to the realization of oh, I'm becoming a monster. I'm perpetuating this cycle of violence and trauma.
Okay. I agree with that assessment. My question is like, I wonder how deep that realization naturally goes. Is like, is she really just like, is she really, from a place of empathy, becoming horrified at the monster she's turning into, and that's like a genuine epiphany? Or is the epiphany there that she's just basically being controlled by the spectre of her father and going down the exact same route that she would have anyway? Is it more of a narcissistic rebellion against the idea of what she's becoming, what her father wants her to be, than it is a genuine sense of empathy? Because I don't know, and I don't think she knows either.
I think it's the latter, because if she truly cared about that girl, she'd find other ways to help her.
I think could it be just a mixture of like both?
I think you can have empathy
like
while still ultimately being driven by trying to be everything that your father is not because you hate him. Like you can have both.
Well, again, that's why I lean more with Jolly's later.
I don't think this. Sorry, Slov. No, after you, Slov. I
was gonna say that's why I lean more with Jolly's like other decision, like his second option, because like she'll still have that empathy, which is what makes her kind of have that initial realization, but she can also think about how she's falling into her dad's plan for her, original plan for her, which she didn't want. But yeah, it's like, I think if she truly had as much empathy as maybe in the first option, she would try to help. even more, but she doesn't. It's more of, oh, what's her first reaction? What's her gut reaction after finding all this out? She goes home and she's like, oh, hey, I'm done. I'm done being the crime boss. You guys can have it. I don't give a shit.
I mean, I feel like if her primary concern is turning into her father, then like maybe use the power and resources and wealth that you have benevolently, or like as a philanthropist, you know, to an extent. Like, you're still a fucking mob boss, but like, I don't know, she's in control.
Turn your entire organization into the police.
Yeah, or like something like that. She wants to walk away from it anyway. She might as well like give the police everything that they want to bring them down.
Well, so this is my thing, because I don't actually think the show answers that question that I raised of like, which one is she? And I think that's intentional. I think there's genuine ambiguity there. As to whether how much like Oz she really is, because obviously she wants to think that she has empathy. She, like, her final attempt to leave is based on the idea that she wants to preserve herself as an empathetic person. There's the flashbacks to her finding out about what her dad did to the girls in the 47 Below, whatever the underclub was called.
But not Maria Kyle for some reason.
Well, actually, Maria Kyle's absence is very strange there. I guess it happened too early. Maria Kyle was like way before then.
She died in 2004, so. So.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Maria's absence is a bit strange, but my point is that her empathy, even at the points where the show is trying to present her as like genuinely seeming to care about other people, is always incredibly flimsy. Because ultimately, she decides to turn her back on the reporter. Right? Ultimately, she decides to not follow through with that inclination and to protect her family, even when they won't protect her. She never really questions how much her brother knew or didn't know about that, when it's fairly clear that he did. It seems that her empathy and her willingness to be empathetic extends only so far as it preserves her sense of self, which is the narcissistic trait that she shares with Oz. However, I don't think she was as self-aware by the end of that as Oz is by the end. And again, that might be because she has genuine empathy, but it's so badly damaged by the trauma conga line she's been through that it's you know, mutilated beyond all possible comprehension. Or it might just be that she doesn't have one and she's just pretending that she does, and she's clinging to that as a sense of self. I don't know, and I don't think the show answers that. And I think it's the show's credit that it doesn't answer that.
That's a good point, because like in the sequel, they'll play with that with Catwoman, because I'm sure that'll come up again.
Yeah, because Catwoman does have genuine empathy, yeah.
Yeah. It's like Catwoman's like, oh shit, I made a decision trying to trust you.
I mean, I like to believe that she has empathy, at least to an extent. Like, she still values her own self-preservation and the protection of the people that she cares about over doing the right thing, as again we see when she walks away from the reporter. But like, I'd like to think that she is a little bit better of a person, I guess, than Oz is. That's
why you're weak, dude.
Well, because ultimately,
but does she do the things to help people? Because the thing is, like, the only loved one, quote unquote, that she actually acts to protect in any way is her realization with the girl at the end. But I'd like to point out that really the reason she has that realization is because she sees herself in the girl. It's like, it's a young girl shoved into Arkham.
What I'm saying is that like she can have empathy while also like not taking steps to actually help people because she's afraid of the consequences, right? Like talking to the reporter. That's the point I'm making.
Well, even when she's in power, she still does that. She still selfishly puts herself first at all points. Like, she has quote unquote loved ones at that point, or at least people she claims to care about, like the therapist guy. But then she just uses the therapist guy basically like a tool and doesn't really care for him at all. I don't like consent. And then the only other one
she ever gave the
that she would like have
that she actually cared for him. She used him and he was happy to be used.
I mean, regardless, that's not exactly an empathetic behavior to use people like that. And then on top of that, like the only person that she shows like genuine quote unquote affection for, that she then goes out of her way to protect or tries to, or could be argued tries to protect, is I can't remember her name now. The girl in Gia, yeah. And again, like she was happy to leave Gia in Arkham and to murder her parents and to lie to her and gaslight and manipulate her. And it's only when she goes to Arkham and sees a girl with from her family with dark hair in Arkham locked up for things that she hasn't done and doesn't know about, and put there and gaslit into being into that situation by a powerful Falcone crime boss, that she begins to question it. I don't know how far you can call that genuine empathy if the only reason she's having a hyperventilating in the corridor is because she's seeing herself in Gia. And again, like, I'm not arguing that Sophia Falcone is definitively a sociopath in the way that Oz very clearly is. I think that the last scene between them, where she's being walked out to her quote unquote death by Oz, where she she basically talks about the fact that like she never really saw Oz, but his mother did, and you know, it basically is a very much more poetic kind of like version of like we're not so different, you and I. Is essentially her final musings on that. Is like I genuinely don't think that she knows whether she's actually like Oz to that extent or not. Like that's you know, something about herself that she in Arkham is constantly going to be questioning to the end of her days until, you know, Selena breaks her out or whatever happens with that. Like she's tragic. She's tragic in a way that Oz isn't. Oz is the architect of everything that happens in his own life, basically. Sophia is not. So there is a much more tragic element to her than there is to Oz, I think. But
she was
that
made.
tragedy may well just be that she thought is that she's acting from a place of wanting to have empathy but not ever really experiencing it.
Are you saying it's kind of like we have two like opposites in terms of how like what comes to these narcissists, like the narcissism? We have the nurture and we have nature.
Yeah, it might well be that potentially. It's an interesting dichotomy, and it's really cool to watch. I will say just on Sophia as well, little minor thing, because I'm a huge Batman nerd, so I was looking out for every possible Easter egg, especially when she's in Arkham. I was like looking for like, oh, are we gonna see some Batman villains? Like, are we gonna get Riddler? Are we gonna get like, and then like, yeah, they have Magpie. I was like, I know Magpie. I remember you from Batwoman. You bizarre little bastard, you. And like Magpie, yeah, falls victim to Sophia's escalating paranoia, and Sophia just fucking murders her with a tea tray. It's like, oh, sorry, Magpie. I guess you're not in the show anymore. Well, I guess that's what happens to her in this universe.
In like very broad strokes, if you can draw parallels between Magpie and Victor, just in terms of like someone who's in way over their head trying to get close to this person, that's like a genuine, like a sociopath and like a monster, who just ends up fucking murdering them. I don't know, might be something there.
Yeah, maybe to a little extent. I'll say it's almost like the Dark Mirror reflection, almost in the way that, you know, Oz and Sophia are dark mirrors potentially of each other. In that, obviously, like from what we see of Magpie, we have no reason to believe that Magpie is doing anything other than just trying to be friendly in her own little crazy way to Sophia. Like she does genuinely seem to be empathizing with her, and like, yeah, obviously she's not all there, but she's not like a bad person from what we can see. She's just a compulsive thief. But Sophia's going completely off the deep end and like seeing enemies in every corner, and decides almost like on a whim that like the only reason that Magpie would ever be trying to be friendly to her is for her own gain. So she fucking kills her. And I think there's something to be said about why Sophia would jump to that conclusion beyond simply the paranoia of being in a place where everyone's out to get you. But like, just if the only motivation you can think of for trying to get close to people in a bad situation is to use them, that probably says something about you that you haven't really come to a full realization about yet. In the way that like Oz by the end has realized that like Vic is just a loose end and he doesn't really see himself like, you know, Vic's usefulness has ended and Oz is like fully comfortable with who he is by that point.
That fucking face he makes at the end. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm
what
sorry.
What are you talking about?
When you said that. Oh, like when he kills Victor and he makes that face like after he kills him and he's like looking around. It became a meme online.
It's alright, man.
Yeah, throws Vic's driver's license in the river so that Vic will just go down as like some forgotten poor kid.
And no one would know
who he was.
Yeah. I mean, it's awful. That's why I'm laughing. It's like that's all I can do. It's
sad.
just like cope.
Theme. But you know, at the risk of doing a King Shark, like themes, because like yeah, Vic's whole thing was that he didn't want to be a nobody. Oz didn't want to be a nobody, and then Oz ensures that in death he will always be one.
Yeah,
like,
not if I have
even strips his name from him.
Still feeling empathetic towards him?
I did find it funny when people were like, "Oh, he's called Victor. Maybe he'll be Victor Zaz." I don't think so.
Yeah, it's like what?
Vic suddenly starts like massacring young women.
Who's that dude on Twitter? Everybody makes fun of the Angel dude. What's his name?
Blu-ray Angel.
Yeah, Blu-ray Angel. That's like some shit he'd say.
Oh, he would. I think he did.
I thought you meant Elon Musk for a second. Like, who's
did
that
he?
Twitter
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Yeah,
Victor.
I do think Blu-ray did that.
Victor Freeze. I think he maybe said Victor Freeze. He said that too.
Noted cryogenic scientist Victor Freeze.
Or
I
saw someone do an edit where they made him cyborg.
He's actually Victor from Arcane, you know. He's every Victor and everything ever.
He's every
Vic.
God. I have been every Vic. you have ever heard.
You have ever heard.
That's gonna be crazy when they bring Victor back to life in season 2.
With a Lazarus pit, yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. do we want to talk about the Bliss subplot and like the Oz's trying to climb through the ranks in Sophia's attempt to like be taken seriously and get respect?
I'm sorry, did you say Sophia?
And how that leads into the finale. Sophia, like it's whatever.
Well, since we were already talking about Sophia, I thought that would be the perfect opportunity to talk about probably the biggest plot issues of the season.
Oh, do we want to jump straight to the middle ground bit? I mean, I guess like should we just like very quickly in 2 minutes lay out the kind of plot threads that lead to that point, just so people who maybe haven't seen the show can get into it.
Yeah, which by the way, if you haven't seen the show, obviously spoilers ahead, but also just watch it. Like, why wouldn't you watch it? It's great.
Spoiler ahead, he kills Vic in the last episode.
We said that like 8 times already.
Yeah, I less for spoilers and more just for like people's ability to follow the line of conversation is what I meant in terms of laying out the plot lines.
Yeah.
But yeah, like obviously, Sophia gets out of Arkham, and in Arkham she was given this drug to keep her quiet called Bliss, which is like this incredibly nice, like it makes you feel ecstatic, but it also like makes you very quiet, and it's this wonderful drug that's made from a special mushroom, which I thought they were going to maybe link that to like Hugo Strange or Scarecrow, but they never did. So I guess that's potentially later down the line we can have that as the origin of the drug. But anyways, yeah, she got given this drug in Arkham, and she gets out and she's like, well, this will be a game changer. If we can mass market this will absolutely corner the drugs trade in Gotham and make whoever's controlling it really powerful and wealthy. So she wants to use that to make a play for being taken seriously as a candidate to be the new Don now that her brother's gone. Originally the plan was her brother would be Don and she'd be like his right hand woman, I guess, or they would rule together or whatever. But he's now dead. Oz has managed to bullshit Sophia into thinking that he was in on this because that's how he explains away having the jewelry that Alberto was going to use to pay for this to go in.
Alfredo, was it Alfredo? Is it? I keep forgetting his name. Is it Alfredo?
Alberto, isn't it?
Alberto, yeah.
Did you just call him Alfredo?
Alfredo.
He's Fredo.
Hey, yo, the HBO Penguin cookbook coming out. Alfredo.
Alberto was
Alfredo
also
dish.
like in like in his club, right? Like that's the last place he said he was gonna go before he died.
Hey, Sheev, there's someone in your chat who's using the proper usage of mid.
No, because he said mid and then said 2 out of 10, which implies bad. So.
But yeah, in parallel to Sophia and Oz's attempts to climb onto this drug thing, Oz is obviously trying to climb the ranks in the chaos he's created. But also we have Sophia's uncle has stepped in as the new Don, backed by Johnny Vitti, who was the underboss and who was also the brother of Sophia's mum.
Cousin of Sophia's mum.
Was it cousin?
Yeah.
No, cousin of Sophia's mum. Relative of Sophia's mum. Actually, I guess that makes sense, right? If he's a Vitti and she's a Giganta. Yeah, cousin.
Yeah.
And Johnny does not want either Oz or Sophia around. He fucking hates Oz, as he views him as like, scum, basically. And he thinks Sophia is a fucking wacko who is too weak to be let into the business and is a threat to his own power and should just be kept the fuck away, basically.
We also find out later that he resents her because she and Alberto were the reasons that their mom stuck around with Carmine, even though she wasn't happy in their marriage, and that's, that led to her death.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which ironically then she points out, well, you kept working for him. Even after
like
that,
there's the hypocrisy there where it's like you kept working for him for all those years when you knew that he killed your cousin. So, like, how much could you really have cared about her?
Mm-hmm. But yes, because Johnny doesn't trust Oz and doesn't want Sophia in on this. When this whole drugs thing is organized, I believe it's Johnny who's like, because Oz is like, oh, I'll take care of it. I'll organize the trucks and stuff. And his plan is, because he's since gone to Sal Maroni in Blackgate, which is on an island, just so we're all aware where Blackgate is. It's on an island in the middle of the river. Maroni, you might remember from the movie, was the former drugs kingpin that Carmine Falcone and the police managed to sweep out with their fake drugs bust and allow Carmine to corner the business. Oz is now making a plan with him to destroy the Falcones from within and basically become, a higher up on the rung within Maroni's organization. Although how much that's also a double play is kind of left up in the air for now. Anyway, this whole drugs thing is organized. Maroni and Oz were planning to double cross the operation and have Maroni's men seize the shipments. Johnny smells a rat, so Johnny's like, no, Oz, you're not going to be in the backup car. You're going to ride in the truck. The place that like Maroni's men are planning to shoot up, which obviously Oz knows, but he doesn't. So you're going to be there just in case anything is suspicious about all this. And then, lo and behold, said hold up happens. Oz manages to get out of there by shooting one of the Maronis to preserve his own cover. But I guess this is even before we get into the Sophia stuff and in terms of the play for power. Do we want to talk about Batman's absence at this point? Because I think this is the first time I start to really question it.
Well, so people gave the excuse of like, well, this is just like immediately after the movie, and obviously he's going to be very busy with things like the city is still flooded, and like there's a lot of relief efforts to deal with, and like there's probably crime running rampant all over the city, and he's probably healing up from the absolute beatdown he took as well. So like there are certain excuses you can make for why he's not here at this point, even though I'm already like, no.
Well, the point I'm more making is less his physical absence and more just the lack of, because obviously these gang guys don't know that Batman isn't fully healed up. The last time they saw him, he was helping rescue people on the goddamn news. So, as far as they're aware, he should very much be still in play. And yet they're planning to move their drugs shipment at night through a sketchy neighborhood. And I'm like, none of them are considering the possibility that Batman might turn up? You'd think by now, 2 years into Batman's reign, these criminals would start organizing their drug movements in daylight to make sure that this doesn't happen.
That's a good point.
Well, it's also, I don't know, because like it's a big city, and we're given the impression in the Batman that like, because it's so big and there's so many like just crimes happening all the time, that like Batman can't be everywhere at once, and he's using the fear of that to try to sort of what's the word I'm looking for, dissuade criminals from doing that. You know, like I can't be everywhere at once, so like there's only certain hits that I'm gonna do, right?
And that'll work to an extent on like petty criminals, but like there's still plenty of criminals that we see.
I don't buy this for two reasons. The first is that, yeah, Batman was... But the thing is, like, Batman's use of fear was basically making himself into an urban legend. Like, he wasn't taking out the big mob bosses in those first 2 years. He was just, like, instilling fear in the low levels. But as of the Batman, he is no longer a myth. He was out on the goddamn news. Penguin literally met him, and he was instrumental in storming Carmine Falcone's headquarters and beating the fuck out of him and dragging him out for the police. Which has now culminated in a huge police investigation into the Falcones in general that they're trying to avoid heat on. The idea that they're acting as though he just doesn't exist, that his turning up to fuck with them, it just isn't a possibility, is bizarre to me at this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
He literally came down Carmine's elevator and walked through machine gun fire to drag him out in front of the cops. You'd think the Falcones might be a little bit more like, maybe this fucking lunatic who we definitely know exists now because he was on the TV. Maybe we should like take precautions.
No, it's fine.
He doesn't turn up and fuck it up.
Batman doesn't exist yet anymore. He blipped out of existence when Thanos snapped, and then the bat signal comes on at the end, signaling that he's back. That's all you need to know.
You know that meme of that cat like looking like in the snow, like what are they like in the overalls going? What are they doing over there?
The fuck they doing over there? Yeah,
that's Batman.
It does feel like Batman.
Big old explosion in the heart of the city. Like what?
Ah,
wow,
yeah.
shit.
We'll talk about this more with the finale, right? But this is the point. Like this is at this point with the drugs truck. My issue is not that Batman isn't here, because like there are other things to be dealing with. This is in the grand scheme of things quite low level, right? My annoyance is that the criminals themselves are acting like he doesn't exist. Like there's no acknowledgement that he's out there. They're not adjusting their behaviors or anything.
Nobody
That's
says
very
his
weird
name.
to me.
Yeah,
he's never spoken about. Penguin literally met him, and they still don't talk about him.
Well, it goes back to that whole thing that the press of the stuff that came out before the show came out, where even Matt Reeves himself said, "Yeah, we wanted to make a show that's a comic book show, but didn't feel like a comic book show to HBO Max subscribers." And I think can we just be honest and be fair and say like, if you're making a comic book show and you're still having that attitude in 2024, I feel like all of the allegations of people saying that like him not wanting to make a comic book show or movie, can they just be a little bit valid at this point with him saying that?
Yeah, I don't know, because to be fair, he did do a Batman movie. I think that's more just like Warner Brothers are not in a good way right now, and they were very reticent to do anything that might turn off a section of watching, any demographic basically that they could possibly scrimp into watching this.
You think
And so they might have
it's the
just been like-
higher ups? You think it's that?
Well, I think it's a combo, right? I think it's like, Robert Pattinson is obviously not available. They don't really want to misuse Batman. I still think there's ways around that, but they don't want to misuse Batman. And Warner Brothers themselves are like, we need the show to appeal to the people who didn't, to everyone, including the people who didn't watch the Batman and who would just be turned off by the fact that this is a comic book show. I don't agree with that decision, by the way. I think that's a miscalculation, but I think that was the logic.
I think that's just a very weird mindset to have, right? Like, yeah, we want people to watch this show about a Batman villain, but I'm afraid that people would be turned off by the fact that Batman exists in the show about a Batman villain.
These are the same people who refuse to call musical movies musicals.
And that's my problem I started having during it, which was like, this is starting to turn into Gotham, the TV show on Fox.
Oh,
at some point. It felt like that.
Yeah. I mean, unironically, the best parts about that show were Penguin's grabs for power and like the gang
That's
wars.
true. That's true.
So like making an entire show just about that, but like actually getting competent writers and directors and cinematographers and all that. That's hell yeah. Get fucking Colin Farrell to play Penguin.
Dial down the camp by a lot. Yeah.
No, I dial it up to like a 15.
I accuse Matt Reeves of theft a lot, and I think that's very much justified. But this is one of those things.
That's a very random thing. Like, I generally just accuse this Hollywood director of being a thief every now and again.
But I think at this point it's like, if you're gonna like remake something, if you're gonna like rip off something a little bit, it's like, yeah, do Gotham and make it better, which he did.
I don't know that it's necessarily like stealing from Gotham to say yes. It's
like a 1-for-1. Dude. It's a 1-for-1 remake.
This up and coming Kingpin, like that's like saying that like Daredevil ripped off the 2003 Daredevil. He's like, oh, this blind lawyer wears red spandex and goes around like beating people up.
It's about Penguin though. Like that's my thing.
I'm still stuck on the idea. that Slov is like sitting in his room being like, you know what Matt Reeves is? He's the directing equivalent of Magpie.
Hold on. Did you say this movie dials up the camp by 15?
No, but it should.
Like, no, he's saying it should do. It should.
It would be a 10 out of 10.
I loved Robin Lord. Like, unironically, I adored Robin Lord Taylor as the Penguin.
Oh yeah.
Gotham.
Oh yeah.
And like
he's good. He was good.
So good in that show. Just before anyone gets like, it's a good show.
The dude who played
him and Edward Nygma were good as well.
It's like a part where he's in Arkham threatening not Joker, Cameron Monaghan's character, with like a spork, and like Jerome is like, you realize that's a spoon, right? He's like, it is also a fork.
That guy who played Ed Nygma, he's like hardly in anything else.
Yeah,
it's a shame because he's
Michael
not bad.
Smith, I think
he just shows up.
Same for Robin Lord Taylor. Like the only live action thing I've ever seen him in other than that was like he's briefly in John Wick 3 for like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
What else have I seen?
He just showed up to Hollywood.
Something else.
And
he's also the outsider in Dishonored 2 as well.
Is he?
Yeah,
he's the outsider.
Yeah, Penguin from Gotham is the outsider in Dishonored 2.
He was
Penguin. I thought you meant Riddler.
He was in You season 2. Yeah. He played a guy that like the main character stole the identity of for that season, so he just kept him in his little cage.
He played Hush.
Oh.
Anyway, yeah. So to skip back to like the plot things, because we were leading up to like the midway point and why the things that don't make sense in the show. So obviously like there comes a point where Sophia basically just gets just fucking done with this bullshit. We get this, like I said, we get this wonderful flashback episode of like how she ended up in Arkham, which is that she found out her dad was murdering girls in the club below, the 47 below. And
44 below,
she tries to do something about it, but then 44 below, right? Yeah. Tries to do something about it, backs off of that because she doesn't really want to take her dad down. She doesn't want to believe it, and then her dad, Oz, dobs her into her dad, and her dad has her thrown into Arkham and rigs the system to make sure she can never get out.
Which, by the way, I think Penguin probably would have done this anyway because, again, like he only cares about himself and maneuvering himself to the top. But like this is another moment where like he gets like, she talks shit to him and like puts him down and belittles him and you're just my driver, and like you can kind of see the change in his expression where he's like, I'm going to sell this bitch out. Fuck you, Sophia.
Yeah, it's not a lack of calculation. Again, it's the same thing as that happened with Alberto. It's like he had two courses in front of him, two gambles he could make. Stay where he was or make a move. And like he at that point was like erring on the side of caution because he is at heart quite a cautious character. But then she had a little jab at him where she shows she doesn't respect him, and at that point his mind was made up. It's like, fuck you. and dobs her in.
Which the thing is, I don't even know if I necessarily interpreted that as her not respecting him as much as it was just she was frustrated and upset and didn't want to hear it right now, and she snapped and said something she didn't mean. Or maybe she did mean it. I'm not saying she did. It's just how I interpreted it at the time.
Honestly, I think it's somewhere between the two, right? It's just it's the thing of like snob. You can be a snob and still have empathy.
Yeah.
I think she did genuinely value that friendship at that point, in as much as she was capable of doing that. But in the moment, she's upset, she's flustered. Her driver, who is like hired help at the end of the day, is like trying to give her unsolicited advice.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Fucking shut up and know your place." And it is just a snap, but there, there's an element of which that she doesn't really mean it, but there's also an element of truth to that and the nature of their relationship. That at the end of the day, he isn't her friend; he is the hired help. And his realization that like that she doesn't view it as an equal relationship and never will is finally what makes him be like, well, to hell with you then.
Yep.
But yeah, so
your friend later.
Yeah, after that whole Arkham thing, she finally gets out of Arkham once her dad dies. She's allowed out. Her therapist and her brother manage to swing her out of there. Returns home, no one runs her around, everyone's scared of her, because obviously the cover story that was constructed is that she killed those girls, that she's quote-unquote the hangman, who's a serial killer of women. And the higher-ups of the family know that this is bullshit, but they're still frightened of her and don't want her around, partly because they're guilty, and partly because they genuinely think that she might take revenge on them, and that she's genuinely unhinged now. And to be fair, she's not doing herself any favors in terms of acting, like, hinged at this point. But she and Oz are thrown together, and now that she knows, because what happens is like she and Oz set up this drugs trade under the table with the triads, only for the Maronis to turn up and be like, "Well, you double-crossed us, Oz, and you're about to double-cross Sophia, so we're gonna kill you." So now Sophia knows that he's full of shit. Vic comes back because that was his decision-making episode. Crushes the gunman that was about to kill Oz. Oz and Vic get out of there. Vic says, "What about Sophia?" And Oz is like, "Forget her, fucking forget her. Let's get out of here." Leave her to her fate, and drives off. And Sophia like sees this and knows now that it's a total betrayal. And so she goes home because she's got no cards left to play now. The family don't want her. Oz, who was her only like powerful backer, obviously was planning to fuck her over. So she's like, "Okay, I'm gonna go to this dinner with my family." Oh yeah, side note, Johnny VT's also trying to ship her off to Italy, and he's like, "Leave or I'll kill you."
Yeah.
So she's like, "Okay, I'm done now." She goes to the dinner. She calls out to their faces how betrayed she felt by their bullshit, and how two-faced they are, and how hurt that makes her. And then she leaves, goes downstairs, puts on a gas mask, covers up I guess it's the air filtration system or the
the vents.
air conditioning system. She puts like a poisonous gas in it, basically. Seals up all the windows and doors. Takes her Gia, who I guess is her cousin's niece or something, also
Daughter,
is a relative, cousin's daughter, out of there, puts her in the greenhouse so that she doesn't get hurt, and leaves everyone else in the house to suffocate and die as the gas fills up. The only person she spares is she goes into Johnny VT's room while he's asleep and opens the window so that he won't suffocate because she needs him for something later. And by so doing, all of the Falcone top crime family, all their top guys, all the family members, all the underbosses are all killed off in one fell swoop. The organization is decapitated, leaving just her and Johnny.
Oh boy!
And this was the point. Yeah, I finished this episode, and I messaged Sheev pretty quickly, being like, "Have you seen it yet?" And he hadn't, and I waited for him to see it. And then when he'd seen it, I was like, "So, that was bullshit. I don't fucking believe you. Like Sophia, I don't believe you show. I don't think this is possible. I think that's complete horseshit." Sheev, I think Sheev, I know you agreed with me.
Well, hang on. Sorry, is the stream still running? Because it's telling me the chat just disconnected on Streamlabs, and I want to make sure that my Wi-Fi didn't just fuck me.
It says you're going.
It says you're going. It just like skipped.
Okay.
I assume it just like it blipped out, but it's back on.
Successfully
now.
Connected. Okay, sorry about that.
It might have just been a YouTube. I think it might just been a YouTube thing because I also got the disconnected from chat thing.
Yeah.
Weird.
Well, hopefully they didn't miss any of our explanation then of just like Anyway, so Sophia gasses and kills the entire top levels of the organization of the Falcone crime family and decapitates it in one fell swoop, and she does that by just poisoning the ventilation system in the house. And I have so many questions.
Bullshit. Bullshit.
Yeah. No one noticed that they were getting lightheaded and tried to open a window. No one opened a door.
Yeah, because there were the family was asleep for the most part, but there were still guards stationed who also died. Like none of them noticed that they were fucking dying.
What? Also, some of the family was still at the dinner table.
Oh yeah, that's.
Yeah, so like no one opened a window, no one noticed they were short of breath, no one like also this is a big house. There isn't an open window or an unsealed door or a cracked door anywhere. And also, this is a big house. It takes a while to gas places. Like this isn't a small room that you've sealed up and are slowly filling with gas. This is a giant mansion.
Yeah, this isn't the Phantom
No.
Menace.
Yeah, and also like fun note about giant mansions is they tend to have been built a fair while ago, and this one is obviously quite an old house as well, at least by American standards, which means it's probably not airtight. Like it probably doesn't even have like particularly well insulated windows. The idea that you could just gas this entire giant fucking several thousand square foot house and in one night without anyone noticing and all of them rapidly succumbing is utterly silly, and I don't believe it.
Yeah.
No, but she did it, and she girl bossed her way through killing her entire family and taking over the.
She did it while being hot.
The
so,
other thing too was that like
Checkmate.
she got the little girl out, which is bizarre to me because so this little girl is again the daughter of Sophia's cousin, who's one of the people that gets murdered here because she's one of the people in the family who does not like or respect or trust Sophia, and they view her as crazy. So the idea that Sophia would ever be able to get access to this little girl, so to bring her out into the greenhouse and save her and spare her from the rest of the, the like being murdered with the rest of the family is bizarre. Like, would she not be on lockdown essentially from Sophia? Would there not be guards posted like with the explicit orders to not let Sophia in? How did this happen? How did she get to her?
I don't know. That's all. Like that's just the mechanics of the actual event as well. Like the mechanics of what this facilitates are even more insane because like okay, everyone's dead now. The police then turn up and we get Officer Squeaky Voice.
You son of a bitch!
To be like,
How could they?
Hey, you goddamn goober!
Chief, how could the guards let this happen? They're smarter than this.
Apparently not.
But yeah, so the police turn up as they would, right? The entirety of the largest crime family in the history of the city have just been gassed in one night. The police are obviously turning up. I do appreciate as well that guy with the squeaky voice. I guess this confirms because something in the Batman himself sort of implies that this guy might be dirty. I guess this is the confirmation that he isn't though, because like he turns up to gloat to Sophia that her entire terrible family are dead.
His name is Mackenzie Buck, by the way. Put some respect on his name.
Chief Buck.
Okay, but like. Chief Buck, but like I found that such a nice. It was my favorite character moment for him was like just when she's like, "Are you here to gloat?" and he just smiles, and I'm like, "Yeah, he is. He's just here to gloat."
Fuck you, fuck your whole family.
He's just this chill guy.
Isn't he the commissioner? Isn't that Commissioner Loeb?
He's not
Chief
Loeb,
Buck.
but he is the
Okay.
Yeah, he's right now he's the acting chief of police because he was deputy chief when the last chief was killed by Riddler.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Technically, a police chief is actually above a commissioner, but that's not how it works in Batman, apparently.
I don't think Loeb is in either of these.
It's like Captain and Commander in
Batman
Star Wars.
things yet.
Wasn't was Pete Savage a was it Savage or it was Savage, right?
Pete Savage?
The guy from Pete Savage, yeah, the other guy from Chernobyl that's in this movie. He was a chief, right? Or was he a commissioner?
Oh, you're talking about the guy from Andor who was like the cop that Cyril was.
He was also in Chernobyl.
Yeah,
he was.
He's a general in Chernobyl. That guy.
No,
the guy we're talking about, he was one of the miners. He was like the head miner in Chernobyl. You know what we're talking about?
Miners.
Miners.
He's one of the mining lads.
When you said Savage, I thought you meant Savage Opress, and I thought you meant.
Well, because he said Pete Savage, and I was like, "What the fuck?"
Clancy Brown. I thought you meant him.
No, I don't remember. I don't remember how they pronounce
fascinating
his name.
digression. This is a fascinating digression, but if I might finish the point about the show we're reviewing.
What are we talking about?
Yeah, the police are obviously here investigate. The police are obviously here to investigate this giant murder. That is quite obviously Sophia, and they're just like trying to find evidence that it is Sophia because it's hella suspicious that she's the only one who got out of there with the girl in tow. Johnny Vitti is missing, so as far as I can tell, Sophia's plan is to pin it on Johnny, at least at this point. Now, obviously, the reason she's kept Johnny alive is because Johnny is the only one who knows where the money is and the account numbers and the bodies are buried, so she needs him to like gain the full access to the resources that she's going to need to take over as the head of this family. which is what happens, right? Like she locks him in a cold, like, tomb, douses him in freezing water, and basically tortures him until he gives up and gives in. And I have so many problems with this because, like, no, Johnny, like, as Johnny points out himself in that area, he's like, you can't ever trust that, like, me, once I'm out, and I can just have you killed, basically. So this can't possibly work. So you might as well just kill me now, because that's where this is headed. But then the show just forgets that he said that and forgets that everyone knows this and just has him agree to her terms. He summons everyone. He does everything that she wants. He doesn't use the second he's out the fact that he is the underboss and she's a nobody to have her murdered and just take over the organization. He just goes along with her, and then she shoots him at the table with all these the underlings that he's assembled, and she's like, "Okay, here's a bag of money with his blood and brain spattered all over it. Now you work for me, guys."
Spills all the money.
That was
out
my
on the
problem,
blood, and I was like, "No."
That's because that's when it starts turning into a little bit of a cartoon or a comic book. It's because it's like, why are you all like just following her? She's not a made man. That's
she
how
offered them more
work.
money.
Yeah,
they just want money.
This is absolutely the mechanics problem here, because like if you decapitate a crime organization and then you assemble all the underlings and shoot the last guy who had any kind of vestige of control over them because he knew where all the money was kept. Yeah, and she's like, "Oh, if you follow me, you'll have more money." Like at least half of them would have been like, "Yeah, but if we kill you, I can take over," because like you've got you don't know any of the mechanics of this organization. You don't know who any of the people are. You don't know how any of this works. You don't have the contacts. You don't have the in the police or anywhere else. You don't have any threat behind you. You don't have any money behind you right now. Like you're nobody. I could just take it all. Fuck you.
But
and none of them do. She just seamlessly transitions into being the new head of what she rechristens as the Gigante crime family, because she's now since worked out that her dad also murdered her mum, so she fucking hates the Falcones.
You think she would have worked that out?
Yeah, I don't know how any of them took her seriously
before, like when she got thrown into Arkham, right? I think she did know that.
Well, yeah, but isn't like she has. No, I think she works out really for the last time when Johnny kind of like fills in the pieces, right? Because like Johnny's like, "Oh, your mum was planning to take you away, and get out of there."
Take me away!
That's when Carmine. That's when Carmine struck, quote unquote. But yeah, like I think she suspected before then, but like that was the final confirmation. And so she's like, "I'm not a Falcone, I'm a Gigante." At which point, everyone around her who should just want her dead or out of the way, or be like, "Who's this bitch?" are like, "Yeah, sure, we'll work for you now, crazy lady who we only know as a serial killer of women,
who just killed your entire family."
It's kind of based.
Like
I consider this an absolute
especially
win.
in a world, especially in a world as overtly misogynistic as the organized crime world,
Exactly.
particularly in Gotham. The idea that they're just acquiescing to this is incredibly weird.
The patriarchy is alive and well in the criminal underworld, which I honestly respect.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen, brother.
This culminates in another funny thing, because obviously while all this has been going on, we see in the next episode that like what Oz was doing during this time, now that he's burnt with all the family members and the family are all dead, is like he's making a play for power on his own end by trying to take down the Maronis who are gunning for him and also get the drugs in the bargain. So he kidnaps Maroni's son and organizes a trade-off where he's obviously planning to double-cross them, which he does. He has Sal Maroni shanked in prison by a guard on the payroll and also burns alive Mrs. Falcone and the son. And Nadia. I really like little moment before I go on to describe like the event. When they're burning, the camera does this little close-up on his face. And like there's like this grim little smirk of like satisfaction as he watches like two people burn to death. Is really hideous.
I have a small potential criticism, unless you guys can talk me out of this one. Taj Maroni, the son and person who will stand to inherit the Maroni Empire. Why do they not have it like? Why is it not more difficult for someone like Penguin to just come in and fucking kidnap him? You know.
I guess two reasons. One is that like he actually is quote unquote fairly well hidden as far as they know. What gives him away is his TikTok account, which like
why do they let him have one?
Well, again, like I don't know if they knew about that. Like I don't know if Sal Maroni knows his son is on TikTok or even knows how TikTok works.
Well, I mean, I figure Nadia is the one running the show around here. Like I guess maybe she doesn't know Taj has a TikTok.
I was about to say no, Sal is still running things just from within prison, right? Where like she's the public like one out on the outside who actually does the meetings and stuff, but it's just ultimately still taking Sal's marching orders.
Yeah, he's not. He is obviously the boss, but I mean like on the outside when day-to-day operations need to go, like that's her purview, right? And like keeping Taj in line and making sure that he's like ready to go to inherit the empire when that's supposed to happen, like that's all her job, right?
Yeah.
Sure. But also, like, him having a TikTok account might not be something she knows about, but also B, like, it might not be under his own name. It might be that something Penguin has uncovered through through investigating and like trying to find out dirt on his opponents.
Penguin has canonically Penguin has a TikTok. That's just
has a TikTok. Well, I guess that's almost in that favor of that argument, right? Because I can't imagine Penguin would have a TikTok if not just to pick up dirt on people. Like, I can't see Penguin posting about his Lamborghini.
Well, I mean, maybe.
Got a new Lambo. It's great.
He is also someone who really likes to like brag about all the flashy suits and cars and stuff that he has. That's like why his car is so flamboyant. He's also
But he is also very careful. This is a man who the doors to his bedroom are bulletproof.
Yeah.
I mean, I've spoken to a private investigator before, and he said that like one of the like quickest ways that he can collect information on people is through their social media. So it does follow, it does logically follow that like Penguin would then have social media pages specifically to check up on other people's social media.
Was this private investigator you talked to named Hank Dahlworth?
No. I just want the record to show that I was not the one who brought up terriers.
Andrew raises an excellent point. What is Penguin's account name? I must follow his TikTok.
Definitely not the Penguin.
Oh shit! I opened TikTok and started playing video. I'm gonna search Oz Cobb. See what's
badass 6969. There you
go. Mommy's boy. No.
Is it Mommy's boy? You'd think HBO would have like made a Penguin TikTok account in the wake of that, because everyone would be clamoring for something like that.
Yeah.
Calabrese boy 125.
It's just like Colin Farrell on set, just like, hey guys, look at this car I got. Hey, what?
I got my new fucking apartment. It's great. My mom's upstairs.
She's sleeping right now, and she's just like, you could just see her fucking crying.
Let's see the Batman.
Just killed Alfredo, feeling good.
I also had a plot problem. We can bring that up later if you guys are still talking about this other thing.
Is it related to what we're talking about? Go ahead, Jolly. Sorry.
Okay.
Just go ahead, Jolly.
I'll round out the Taj plot line and then we can get back to Slov's point, which is like, yeah, so like, Oz double-crossed Sal to try and get out from under him. However, Sal, survived being shanked in prison, took the keys off this guard, walked the entirety of the way through the prison without being noticed while carrying a severe stab wound, and then, I can only presume, swam the river to get to the mainland to then disappear. And I'm like, how in the flying fuck, mate, did you do this?
Thanks for the keys, Oz. Like, no, sorry, I don't believe you.
Thanks for the keys, Oz, and the bandages, and the inside help, and the boat. And Oz was like, what are you talking about? I didn't leave a boat.
Say what?
Probably shouldn't have left those there.
And also, just to add to this craziness, like at this point, Sal is in like a safe house, out of the way where he's not going to be found, because obviously he's now on the run as a prison escapee. So like he's in a place where no one can find him, the Don's safe house, a very secure location, which I'm sure will take lots of time and effort to find.
What is with my fucking stream today? Because like apparently we're cutting out a lot, or at least I assume so, because someone in the chat thinks that you said Sal got shot. And then it was asking for clarification because apparently it cut off when you said it.
I said shanked, didn't I?
He got shanked, shot. Yeah. He didn't get shot.
Yeah. It might just be my accent. He got shanked with a knife.
No, I mean
he was shanked in the gut.
Blood got shoved.
No, it was clear from Jolly's accent. I mean, from not just Jolly.
Jolly in an American accent, say it so he can clearly understand.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. Oz got shanked. I mean, it kind of sounds the same. That's the problem.
Shanks for nothing.
It's bad though.
Honestly, apparently, it is cutting out from time to time.
Yeah.
Oh, Sheev, is it your internet again?
It can't possibly be. It just can't be.
I'm a check.
But anyway.
Yeah. So Yeah, so Sal is in his safe house, which is definitely safe, because that's the definition of a safe house, right? But yes, that's the end of that plot line in terms of for now. Unless because again, Slov, I don't know what point you wanted to bring up before I move on to how that house turned out not to be so safe.
Yeah,
I
Slov,
was
you had a
gonna
plot
bring up
issue.
another. I did, but it was with something else. But it was if you want to continue that point, I can still pull it up.
Go ahead.
It's fine. It'll make a nice interlude before
Okay,
we move
all
on
right,
to the next
so-
fuckery.
All right, so what I was going to talk about is Penguin's horror girlfriend giving him out, she basically ratted him out right to Sophia, and because Sophia shows up and she like hits Vic in the head and takes his mom, right? So
Yeah.
I'm sitting here going, how did Penguin never put those two things together? Like, why did he never question like who gave up where my mom is? Because I feel like he should have questioned that. Because she just shows up there. I mean, that was a pretty obscure location. Like, how in the world would she have found that?
I mean, well, we have issues with the fact that Vic took Francis to Crown Point at all, and all the people
True.
there, all the people there who do like drops operations, right? That, like, would be able to see her. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that someone else tipped Sophia off to their location. Like, I don't necessarily.
Oh, well,
go ahead.
I mean, I don't know about that. Like, who knows Penguin's mom?
I mean, okay, look,
Well, no, it's more just about finding where Penguin. More just about finding where Penguin is.
The point there is like, this guy who is like rumored to be associated with someone calling himself Oz, right? Like, his like Squid even says to Victor when he wants in, like, he knows about Oz, this mysterious guy like in the shadows doing all this stuff. So like, and these are people who run drops, it's like that's a Falcone run business. I can believe someone was like, there's someone here in Crown Point calling himself Oz, running Bliss. Honestly, I'd almost say it's weird that like they weren't found before then. Given the,
I mean, maybe I just still think Penguin would have wanted to follow up on that though. He just never did.
I guess the thing there is like I don't know if even the people even if most of the people in Crown Point who would be aligned with the Falcones know that it's coming out of Crown Point. I think that as far as the Falcones are aware, like Oz is just popping up all over the map with no explanation because of the underground network of tunnels. They don't know that this distribution is in Crown Point until it's given up to them. There are plot problems though there with that. I'll get to that in a second. Yeah, just to come back to that because it's all kind of interlinked, right? Like Sal is at his safe house, and then Sophia just turns up at the safe house and holds him at gunpoint, and she's like, "Let's form an alliance to kill Oz because fuck that guy." And like, it's a new day in Gotham, and we'll run it as a rather than the Falcons and the Maronis, we're gonna have a combined Maroni Gigante syndicate. And Maroni's totally cool with this for some reason. I don't know why.
I think
at this point, obviously, he's held at gunpoint. So,
Well,
agree in the moment, but the second her back's turned, fucking kill her.
I think at this point he's lost everything, and like all he wants now is to just kill Oz and be done with it. Like, I don't think he cares about anything else.
Well, hang on. But by that same token, he should definitely want Sophia dead then, because Sophia is the daughter of the guy who fucking has probably taken quite a few of his relatives from him. This war's been raging between the Maronis and the Falcones for a while.
Well, sure, but like Sophia herself didn't do anything to him,
That he knows. Like, why would he trust that?
Why would he have any reason to believe she's ever done anything to him? She was fucked over by Carmine just as much as he was.
What? No, but again, that's what she's claiming. As far as he knows, like it's a Falcone murdered her way to the top of the pile of the other Falcones. Was in Arkham for killing young women. That's all he knows about her. She's come to him now with a story about like, oh, actually, my dad screwed me over, and Oz is the real villain. And I'm like, if I was him, honestly, I would just agree in the moment and then be like, no, you're dead. I don't need you.
Well, I kind of feel like Maroni would know, to at least to some extent, who the real culprit behind the 44 Below murders were, and he knows for a fucking fact it wasn't Sophia. So seeing in the
Why
papers
would he know that?
Why wouldn't he know that? Like, for one thing,
because Falcone's gone to great lengths to make sure that nobody knows that. It's a really big thing of like he might be a mob boss, but if the police can tie him to a bunch of murders, that's really bad.
No, I'm not talking about like there being like hard evidence for it. I'm just saying that like intuitively, it'd be like, I don't know why Maroni wouldn't just like be able to tell like these murders were not done by Sophia. One of them happened when she was a fucking child. Well, they were happening when
Well,
she
I mean,
was too young to be like her murders, weren't they? Or, like, realistically.
Hang on. Well, no, because otherwise there's no way that Carmine would have been able to push that through the courts that she was responsible for the murders. Like, they had to have happened at least when she was like 16, 17 to begin with. Which is kind of what the show implies. Like, obviously Maria Kyle is a spanner in that, but like Maria Kyle just doesn't get mentioned by the show for some reason. So I guess she's just not connected to the Hangman murders. Falcone was a bit more careful with her, I guess, in terms of covering that up.
I guess.
But also, like, yeah, I'm sorry if you know that your opposing crime boss is probably killing young women in the basement of the secret club basement of the club that that shouldn't exist anyway. You're definitely going to bring that to light if you can. That's a real vulnerability that you can press against him. So no, I don't think that Maroni knew this. I think that would be very strange if he had and hadn't acted on it. Falcone is very powerful, but Maroni has also got plenty of ways of exercising power, particularly at that point in their history before Falcone ran him out. Again, like, from Maroni's perspective, it's like the daughter of the guy I fucking hate from the family that's been a thorn on my side and probably killed a number of my friends and relatives over the years, has come to me with this cock and bull story about how actually Oz is the real villain and that she killed her family for personal reasons that are honourable and not just to get to the top of the pile. And now she's tracked me down to give me this deal, and I'm like, I don't know that I trust her. I think I would use her as long as I thought I could, and then fucking kill her.
I mean, I guess, like, from there you could argue that that's exactly what he's doing by going along with her. Like, he doesn't have the resources, I think, to go after Oz by himself at this point, right? He's backed into a corner and a fugitive of the law. He's a mob boss, sure, but like, his power is severely limited at this point, and his reach is not very far right now. He needs her help if he has any chance of getting to Oz.
Well, hang on, but it's strong enough that she's going to seek him out for an alliance.
I mean, yeah, he has men that she'd like to have on her side, but like, by himself, he's not gonna. There's like very little that he's gonna be able to do, I think.
Why not just kill him then and take over his organization?
I mean, well, I guess I would argue that that's an oversimplistic way of doing, like that's not something that would work. But knowing her and her parachuting herself into power, maybe that would have worked. I don't fucking. But like, realistically, I don't think that would be how that works. Like, she kills Maroni, and then her men are just also, like, I guess we'll follow you now.
Chat seems to think you've cut out again.
Yeah, I don't fucking know.
Well, it's one person in chat, and then Andrew's saying that he's looking at the stream. It's not cutting for him. So
yeah, I don't fucking know.
All right, well. I just thought I'd raise it as a thing before it gets bad. All right, let's just carry on then.
It's a skill issue. I'm having zero problems here.
Same.
Fair enough. Anyway, so yes, like she teams up with Sal. I'm not quite sure why he accepts that, but he does. I also don't know how she found him. That's completely insane to me.
Yeah, that's the problem. Of at least a month, I'd say, probably more.
Yeah, well, because like these events were happening a week after Halloween, because that's when the Batman was happening. And when we next come back, it's like deep in the winter and it's snowing. So I imagine, like, I know American cities on the eastern seaboard get cold even in the autumn.
Yeah.
But like, this looks like it's been at least 4 weeks has passed. Like, certainly it's been enough time for Oz to get up and running an entire drugs network and trade.
It's like probably January at the earliest, I'd say, of 23.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which again, now we have the extra special question of where the hell is Batman?
He got buried in snow.
Yeah.
It's not his fault. He got frozen in the ice. Alfred's thawing him out.
Yeah, because it's been months, and at this point, a full-on gang war has erupted. The entire head of the Falcone crime family has been decapitated. There's a huge police investigation ongoing. Inter-gang warfare and the struggle for power is exactly what Batman said he was on the lookout for at the end of the last film, and he is just nowhere. Like, we hear nothing about him or of him, or like, not even like criminals in a conversation being like, oh, 5 of our guys were put in the hospital by the fucking bat last week, and the police are closing in. Like, nothing even like in terms of world building as to where he might be or what he's just absent. He's just not there.
Just have Vic say, like, I mean, we're doing our best to like distribute as widespread as we can, right? But like, the bat is making that a little more difficult. Like, let alone the Gigantes and the Maronis and anyone else. Like, he's out there, and we have to be prepared for that.
The guy's jumping one of our guys and getting information. So like, it might even be that Oz was smartly using Batman's threat in conjunction with the tunnels to like mask his activities, and like they could even bring that up to Sophia, like when she's like, why aren't we hunting these guys at at night? And like they're like, because the fucking Batman's on the prowl, like knocking the shit out of our guys. But no, he just doesn't
freaking
exist.
bad.
Yeah, for now, and it'll become even funnier later, given what happens. So yeah, Sophia is trying to track down Oz. She's trying to find information on him and find out where he's at. Meanwhile, Vic decided to take. When Oz knew he was burnt, he had Vic move his mum somewhere safe. And where Vic decided was safe was the fucking flooded ghetto of Crown Point, like the most crime-ridden, underserviced, like shots to shit area of the entire city.
Yeah, like
Where
I
people
thought
know Vic as well.
I thought he was gonna, like, he was like, I take the fucking go bag that I have stashed somewhere with all that money in it and get her somewhere safe. And I thought Vic would take her to, like, I don't know, fucking California or something. Get her as far away
dude.
from
I was like, all right, boys, we're going to Ohio. Right?
Yeah.
Well,
like,
I mean,
I hear Bloodhaven's nice this time of year.
Well, I mean, honestly, it makes a whole lot of sense. The most dangerous part of the city is the last place that anyone would look for someone.
The place, it's like Vic's like, I don't want to go anywhere where we might be recognized. Therefore, I will take her back to my home neighborhood that I know is filled with gangsters who are wondering where I am.
Someone in chat just said, where else
Yeah,
would
that's a
Vic
good
go?
one.
He has nowhere to go.
Ohio.
There's nowhere to run.
It's almost like
Anywhere else.
Gotham.
My bad. there was
Gotham
somewhere to
is
run.
just one city in fucking New Jersey, and it's almost like New Jersey is just one of like 50 fucking states in this country.
It's a video game.
It's a
Literal
big
girlfriend.
country.
It's a video game. You get out of
You can't
bounds.
leave the map.
Run.
Vic literally has a girlfriend in a different city. Maybe just go to her. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anything.
I mean, this is the thing, right? Is that like it's really not hard to just like travel to New York from New Jersey. It's really not.
Get her on a Greyhound and get her the fuck out of there.
No, drive her
Hey,
yourself.
babe, I have a new girlfriend.
Never
now.
let her out
She's
of your
old.
sight.
Yeah,
Someone in
just
chat.
not- there's so many options.
Someone in chat said, just tuned in, but I already know Sheev hates this show. It's so funny because we're in the segment where we're like picking it apart and like shitting on it, but like we really love this show.
The show's good. Why? You're not allowed to criticize something you
Okay.
like.
Yeah, we understand the general consensus is it's good, but there's some bad parts. We're going through the bad parts right now, but that
It's
doesn't mean that, like,
great.
the whole show is bad.
The show is really good. The middle is not is like the connecting tissue between the first really good bit and the second really good bit is very weak, and that's what
Yeah,
we're
it's
currently
like-
delving into.
Yeah, because unfortunately, like the
good.
stuff that we're going over right now are things that are necessary to facilitate all the payoffs that are coming that are going to come in like the 7th and 8th episode, right? You know, like Penguin's mom needs to be in town for the narrative payoffs to do with their character dynamic. Sophia needs to be in power because obviously she's the main antagonist in Penguin's story to rising to the top. So she needs to get on top of the fucking Falcone Enterprise somehow. You know, things like this where it's like, if you just actually took the time to like rework it a little bit so that these things all line up and make sense, then like they would, like the first half of the show and the second half of the show would connect a little bit better. And you could have those payoffs that you desperately need to, you know, bring the whole thing together.
Yeah. It's just like, you know, the nature of being a critic means being fair and even-handed, even to the things you like, and like there's always room. There's, you know, 99 times out of 999 times out of, you know, whatever, there's gonna be room for improvement, even in the best of shows. And this is just an example of that. Like, yeah, this is a really good show. It's not perfect. You know, here are the things that we can constructively criticize, and maybe the next time someone does a show like this, they'll learn from you know, how to make it a little bit better as a result.
Yeah. But anyway, the Penguin's
think of a
terrible.
single- Well, I mean, I can't think of a single show that I do like that I don't have criticisms for.
Well,
That's
this is
just-
why I've had people rag on me because I'm like, I rate things, you know, in the abstract just for ease of communication, like 0 to 10, you know, 1 to 10 basically, like you know, as most people do. But something I've always been very clear on is like, I will never give a show, or I've never yet given a show 10 out of 10 because I don't think 10 is possible. Like 10 being like, you know, absolute flawless perfection. I'm like, I just don't think. I think that's
Westworld
an
season
ideal,
1.
but I don't think it's 9.9. Like it's
Twister.
really close. But,
What?
like, nothing
Okay.
is perfect.
What is one
And,
flaw in Westworld season 1?
I think some of the explanations of some of the more abstract concepts are going to fly over people's head, and given that it's a show that is at least theoretically aimed towards a wider audience, that's a little bit of a problem.
No, the season is perfect.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
But
I
it's
was
like,
really-
in the same vein, I'll never give anything a 0 because I just don't think, like, you know, to be given it a 0, it would just be like you are not a piece of media. Like, you know, if someone was like out of
You are not a
10,
serious story.
how good am yeah, it's like, no, it's almost like out of 10, how good a movie is pasta. I'd be like, well, pasta is pasta. It's not, it's food. It's not a movie. So
what you're telling me is that
pasta.
Spaghetti is 0 out of 10. That you're wrong. Spaghetti is beautiful.
Yeah, as a film, yes.
As a film.
Spaghetti is 0 out of 10 as a movie.
I feel like, well, Spaghetti has no plot problems though, so it's peak.
That's because it has no plot.
Mate, checkmate.
That's why when people are like,
like...
the chair in a room is like a 10 out of 10. I'm like, but it's not anything. That's just a chair in a room. It's not a story.
Have plot holes if you don't have a plot.
Yeah, it is like putting your finger in your nose, like, no. It's if someone was like, what's the best movie you've ever seen, and I said a painting, and like, then I haven't understood the question. Like, it's basically how that goes.
I decide not to play.
Yeah, that's just, you're a fool at that point. But yeah, things have gotten really low. Like, I think the lowest I've ever scored something is like a 0.2 or 0.1, which is like the Timeless Child, which is really bad. But like, no zeros and no tens is the general rule.
I think I gave the She-Hulk finale a 0 out of 10. But only because it literally took the story that was
0.5 or something.
It took the story that actually existed that was being told and was just like, no, it's not happening now. So then at that point I felt comfortable saying, this, you're not even telling a story anymore.
I give things zeros because I am spiteful.
Anyway, so to get back to the show, where were we at? We were at Oz's drug empire from underground and how it's weird that he hasn't been found.
When
and
Vic,
all the kind of Vic
took
decision making.
his mom to Crown Point, and Penguin was like, yeah, this is exactly what I wanted. And it's like, it is?
Yeah, that's very strange. I don't know what his thinking was there, but that is where he took her.
And Penguin's like, this is great. What are we talking about? Best spot. Good job, Vic. It's like, what? Huh?
I think he literally pulls that no one will think to look for her hair card. I'm like, what do you mean? Vic's from here.
It's right there, man.
Someone said in chat, Sheev, you gave Andor a 10 out of 10. I would actually change the rating to that, but also I judge things differently than Jolly does, which is why it's fun to compare our respective scales. I give things 10s.
I what? I thought that you were supposed to be Jolly's puppet.
You were Jolly's puppet. What are you doing?
I was about to make that exact joke. It's like, I know everyone thinks that he's just my little mouthpiece, but it's she and I have disagreements.
I disagree with him a lot.
We just constructively talk about them like friends.
Name everything you disagree on right now.
Civil rights.
He doesn't think gay. Yeah, he doesn't think gay people should.
Yeah.
Anyway. So yeah, Vic's gone to Crown Point. Oz is in the basement making drugs, and Sophia can't find them. That is the state of play when we get into the second part of the show, months later in January. There's already quite a lot wrong with all the decisions that went into that, which is not great. But yeah, then Sophia does find out where Oz is, because as Slov pointed out, Sophia manages to track down Oz's girlfriend, who was like Eve. A stripper he was sort of seeing. Eve, yeah. And Eve at first is like, I'm not giving Oz up. And the only reason you even found me is that I knew you were looking for me through my girls, and I didn't want you to hurt them. And basically,
this scene is so fucking great.
It is a really good scene, yeah. Because Eve is doing the same thing that Vic does, right? Later, where she's like, yeah, Oz is a bad man, but he does care about the underlings and there's a sense of loyalty there, and I'm not going to give him up to you because you're the, as far as I know, you're the hangman. You're the murderer of people you think are beneath you. I'm not fucking giving up my girls to you. I'm not giving up Oz to you. You can just kill me and do what you came here to do and fuck off.
And then Sophia drops the bombshell on her that actually her father is the one who killed those women and framed her for it. And then Oz knew and didn't say anything and didn't do anything about it and kept working for him. Which completely recontextualizes everything Eve thinks about Oz. If there are aspects of him that are redeemable and that he does actually care. Because, how could he care and continue working for a monster like that?
And it's interesting because she still is dancing with him at the end. It just shows how she's
a pragmatist, right?
Huh?
Yeah. He came out on top. What's she going to do?
Yeah. Thank you.
She doesn't really have an option there. The state of play is that he's in charge at that point. She can either get with the program or be a loose end to tie up.
I really appreciate the fact that Sophia understood that I'm not going to kill this person, and because she spared her life, that's when Eve gave her the information she wanted. She didn't have to do. She was off the hook. Sophia was about to leave, but she did it, and that shows the respect that they have for each other because of their respective experiences with people like Oz, the bad men who don't care about anyone but themselves.
Yeah, that does her hate Oz, as you said, like being the pragmatist. That is interesting, though.
Well,
Like
she
she
might
gives
well hate
that.
Oz. She's just not going to show it.
You think so?
Well, I mean, I would if I was in her position. I'd be like, this guy's a fucking cunt. Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
like, can't you say that word on a stream? But like, like he's just a real bastard, and like the only reason, the only reason that like she's gonna carry on working for him is that like he pays a lot of money, and it's either be useful to this guy now that he's in charge, or potentially be a loose end like Vic who gets tied off.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel like if she started like ghosting him, he would not be happy with that.
He wouldn't take that
and
well
he would
at
definitely
all.
kill her. Yeah.
Well, he didn't
true.
take it well when she wouldn't come with him midway through the season.
Yeah. That was a crazy scene.
Yeah.
In fact, the only reason, like, I would argue the only reason she doesn't die in that moment is that Oz doesn't think that she'll blab.
Yeah. I still do think, though, it was sort of because she did say that she viewed people like not so black and white. Like it goes back to that pragmatism thing. Is she tricking herself into like not wanting to hate him? Is that my thing?
No, she's. I think like that. What she's really saying there is like you're all as bad as each other, and like, with the exception of Sophia, because at that point she's like, no, like every criminal is a bad guy, right? Like criminals, but like I take what I have and I work with it, and like everyone's got something that's like redeemable about them that is like that can humanize them. Except for you murderer of young girls. And then Sophia drops the bombshell like, well, actually, yeah, no, Oz is the one who knew about that, not me.
Yeah.
I just don't see what options Eve has at the end. Really, it's like work for him and make money or die.
Yeah,
Or I guess
I guess that...
skip town, but then like that leaves her girls behind, and she would never do that. She was willing to die to protect them in this scene. So
also, I don't believe skipping town would save her. Like at this point, Oz is like the Don of Gotham. He's got reach.
I mean, sure, but like I do wonder how far that extends, right? Like if she were to like flee to fucking Mexico or something, like I don't think he's like he could get to her.
Yeah, probably not immediately, no. Like, but it's still like she would have to leave her girls behind, and they're gonna die, and
she
pay
wouldn't
for
do
that
that.
instead.
Yeah, she just wouldn't. But yeah, that scene
so Eve gives
is
up. I
excellent.
I do have a question of like Sorry, I do have a question though, which is like, how does Eve know where Penguin is at this point? Like, I know
he told her. He told her.
Why would he tell her?
Well, because he thought she was coming with him.
He wanted to come with her, right?
He was like, I got this place in Crown Point by the zoo.
Oh yeah, that's true. He does do that. I guess my question then would be like, if you're Penguin in that moment, why wouldn't you kill her the second that you realize that she's not as loyal to you as you think she is, and you've just given her that piece of information?
Sex.
I mean, sex.
Sex.
I guess it's like you said. Like he just genuinely in that moment didn't believe that she would rat him out. I mean, she almost didn't until she like her perception of him was recontextualized by what Sophia revealed to her. It's like, I don't know.
I wonder if it's almost like that's still the moment. Like at that point, he's still sort of in love with the idea of himself as a man of the people, and that's why he doesn't like because like obviously he had her underwear in his drawers and like a photo of her in his bedroom, which he doesn't have for anything else, right? Like she occupies a place in his quote unquote heart that is just even above like Victor, and like other than his mom, like she's the only one he's ever shown to like keep keep accoutrements from and care about. I wonder if that was literally just in the moment, like he still sees enough of himself in her that he doesn't think she's gonna blab because like he still has that idea of affection for her. Like I wonder if he'd been a bit more clear. Like I wonder if she'd done that betrayal after the fact, like at the same time Victor had blabbed, would she have shared Victor's fate?
Spider-Man Unknown in chat says, "How long is the stream?" So the thing about that is, we don't know currently.
The thing about live streams is that they go indefinitely until we.
Actually, this is all pre-recorded.
Yeah,
we actually all listen. I am Victor. I saw every single possibility, and then I told all of them the perfect time to say everything in order to line up with this chat.
Yes,
I am a genius.
Spider-Man Unknown. We'll get there when we get there.
Yeah,
we'll get there when we get there.
Yep. Yeah.
But yeah,
he's really mad.
I suppose I'm willing to accept that it's plausible that Oz wouldn't have killed her in that moment, and I'm willing to accept that it's plausible that like Oz didn't think she would blab enough for that to have taken place. I just think it was a thing where I'm sort of in two minds about that. I can be convinced either way, though. I'm not saying that's an objective flaw.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I guess it's also worth considering in that moment. He had so many other things on his mind that like he may not have even really considered it.
Oh yeah, he's got a lot of shit going on at that point. To be fair, yeah, he's just trying to like get it all sorted. But yes, Sophia tracks Oz back to Crown Point and to the apartment that he's in. Which actually, I suppose that's the question. How does she know which apartment?
Yeah, see, that's the one that I had whenever I was rewatching it. I was like, she told Sophia, placing Crown Point by the zoo, which I guess could narrow down the apartment building. But like the specific unit, did she just knock on all the doors with the crowbar in her hand, or like?
That's a problem I have.
Well, hold on. The power's
abandoned,
back
right?
on. Would she go to the one with the power? The one specifically with the power back on?
Everywhere
we
in Crown Point got their power back. It wasn't just that one unit.
Yeah, but I was gonna say though, when it came to that, why is she doing this herself? Like, she's the crime boss. So does she not have underlings that do this shit?
To be fair, as far as we know, there could be a bunch of underlings waiting in the corridor, right?
I guess, but we weren't shown that.
But like, I'm willing to extend that
with a little crowbar. I mean, it's not like she needed her men for that, but like, yeah, as a precaution, I don't see why you wouldn't bring them.
Yeah, that's my point. Is like, I don't have any reason to believe that she didn't. Like, it's like, we see her in the apartment because she wants to like go in there and personally give what for to Oz. But like, as far as we know, and like in the same way that Sal has guys with him, I would be shocked if she doesn't have guys with her.
Well, the reason I say that is that in other parts of the show they start acting like cartoon characters. It's like, oh, okay, you're just going to be the crime boss now, even though we don't know who you are. You just kill people randomly, and you're probably crazy.
I do like when they go to
just killed a made man.
I do like when they go when Sophia and Sal go to Oz's apartment just by themselves to just basically be the bookies. Like, it's just like, I'm gonna go smash up his place. But like,
it's just little things like that where it's like, I get why you want the characters themselves to be doing that, but you should be having like underlings.
Like, no. There's good reason that they would be there though. Like, personally.
Yeah. Well, also, like, hang on though, because like, yeah, it's we extend courtesy to a show until it gives us good reason not to, right? Like, you always give a show the benefit of the doubt within reason. I don't see any reason to conclude that she wouldn't have had guards outside Oz's house, right? Sorry, like outside the apartment rather, in Crown Point. As for the break into his apartment with Sal, at that point they know that Oz is on the run. They know he's not going to be there, and as far as we know, there are guards outside and downstairs. They're just the ones searching the apartment because they personally have a grievance.
Yeah, and they also don't want to leave any stone unturned. They're looking for information. Yeah, because they're looking for information, so they don't want to leave any stone unturned.
Yeah, they don't think Oz is there.
Well, it's just normally like I would say in real life, even though we're not really operating in real life with this, but now Reeves wanted to make it grounded. But I was gonna say it's like the reason why like crime bosses don't do that is because they don't want DNA and like plausible deniability and shit like that. That's the only reason I'm just a little bit. But again, they pay off everybody in the police department, so you can just say that. I don't know. It's just a little bit
also
weird
like
for me.
Sophia actually has a good reason to know Oz, right? Or have a part of DNA in his apartment. She's already been there once in this season already, just as a guest.
That's fair. Yeah.
As for Sal, like, he's on the run anyway. So if they find DNA in Oz's house, like, who the fuck cares?
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
Yeah.
Also, he's wearing gloves. I'm pretty sure in that scene, but
I'd have to pull it up, and I don't really want to pull it up. So I'll take your word for it.
Do it.
Regardless, I don't think it matters either way.
Which episode is this?
Episode 6, I think. It doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter.
Yeah, honestly, it doesn't matter either way. Is my point. But like,
I'm being anal about it. It's fine. Don't worry.
No, that's fine. That's what we do. We're critics. We look for every flaw we can in good faith and fairness. But like, I just think in these instances, I think it's good faith, and I don't see any reason to contradict their good faith to assume that there are guards outside the apartment in Crown Point, and there are guards out. I mean, like with Sophia, I guess I would like you'd have to be guards. Like, what she's planning on, like taping up Oz and dragging him back herself in the car. Like, no, there's going to be people downstairs, like, waiting with duct tape and shit.
Oh, also, I'm just imagining that, like, when she did get into the apartment, I guess, assuming she was by herself, she just bashed Victor with the crowbar and just grabbed Francis herself. No,
I assumed that.
Her men probably were waiting outside and did that, because, like, why wouldn't they be?
Yeah, I guess I have a question as to why she left Victor alive.
Yeah, it's another good thing.
Well, probably to tell Oz what had happened, like, who has Francis.
Wouldn't you be able to just leave him a note? I mean, the fact that Victor is dead and his mum is missing, you could just write a note and you could use Victor's blood to write it on the wall if you wanted.
Well, also, I don't see any reason.
I'm Sophia. I did it.
I don't see any reason why, like, she would care whether or not Victor survives or not.
Well, no, but she does though, because she wants to hurt Oz, and she knows that Victor is close to Oz. Like, she knows that for a fact.
Does she?
Like, she's met him before.
She's met him.
Yeah, she's met him before.
He was her driver. I mean, he was Oz's driver, as she understood it. Like I don't know that
right,
it,
but then,
she knew
and
that
then
it
he was
went
the drug mule. Hang on, and then he was the drug mule in the club, and then he rammed the shootout and saved Oz's life in the car.
Is Jolly delayed for anyone else, or is it just me?
He's not delayed for me. I think that there definitely seems to be delay between like you and him. But he's fine for me. I think your Wi-Fi is bound to be a little more strained than everyone else's, being the one who's actually doing the stream.
Yeah, but it's not usually this bad, and I'm kind of annoyed right now that like so many things seem to be going wrong.
You sound upset. Are you upset?
I'm ending the stream. Goodbye.
I mean, I guess possible delays aside, I still think my point stands, right? Like she's met him numerous times in situations where it's clear that he's not just some goon, right? Like he's very closely hanging around Oz. If nothing else, you would kill him to make sure that like it hurts Oz, or take him with you.
She met him in episode 3 in the capacity that he works for him, like as his driver, and then as the mule at the club, and then at the end of that, Vic showed back up and saved Oz. So like I guess, as far as she's aware, he might be extremely grateful to him that he did that, but like to the point where he cares about him, I don't think she knows that.
I don't know, man. If Vic is hanging around personally around Oz as his like right hand guy in
I guess
in your plain vision, you would definitely assume that like at least Oz cares enough about him as even if just as a tool to be used, that like hurting him or killing him is going to be.
I guess
it's going to be a blow to Oz.
To your point, like if Oz trusts Vic enough to be the one like looking after his mother, then yeah, he probably cares about him to at least some extent, at least as far as she's aware.
Yeah, as far as she thinks he's able to care about anyone, he's certainly useful to her. Sorry, to him rather. If I was in her position, I'd have just killed Vic. Honestly, I don't know why him being alive helps you in any way. You can just leave a note for Oz if you really think Oz isn't going to get the obvious message. Like, again, she knows Oz isn't stupid.
Yeah.
But I guess it's a good thing that she did, because otherwise I don't know if actually I guess it doesn't matter either way. But like it's a good thing in the long run, because obviously Vic saved Oz's ass by the end, so like that wouldn't have happened if he died here. So I'm gonna call that a contrivance that she allowed him to live.
Well then, I'm gonna call you a contrivance.
Okay,
That's
so
fine.
it went from a 7 out of 10 to a 6 out of 10 real
Now it's
quickly.
a 2. No.
Now it's at a 3.
But like, yeah, it's again minor. Maybe she did intend to kill him, and she just wasn't as strong as she thought she was. Like maybe she actually clocked him as hard as she could in the head with the crowbar, and he went down, and she just assumed, that Oz might be back at any second, and she had to grab the mom. Like, I guess there's a plausible scenario there where Vic might have been left alive. I just find it unlikely.
See, now you're backtracking. You're doing that thing that I did in my Peter B
I'm
video.
Qualifying my statements.
No. That's called backtrack. When you address a potential counter to your point,
yeah,
that's you backtracking because you realize you're wrong.
Oh yeah, I remember Colin tossed that.
That's how that works.
Crazy.
And then obviously at the same time,
Spider-Man Unknown is, I think, taking what we're saying way too literally, because he's saying it's not a 3. We don't actually think this show is a 3.
Hey, calm
okay.
down. Hey, we're just joshing you.
He's talking to CLS. I think he's talking to that guy because he said it's a... Oh, yeah, okay, I see what you mean.
Yeah, he said it.
I mean, like... He said not even
CLS said, listen, Spider-Man, listen. CLS said it was mid and then call it a 2. If you don't know what mid is, you're probably stupid. So, moving on.
No.
Wait a minute.
He says not even a 6 out of 10 or 7 out of 10 or lower. I'm like, well, 7 out of 10 is not unfair, honestly, given...
Well,
That's what I gave it.
I'd give it an 8,
Yeah.
but like 7 out of 10 means it's really good. 8, so, like, that's not a bad...
Yeah, I'm in the 7 to 8 range.
Like you understand that like 7 means more good than bad on our scale, right?
7 is a good score. I'm so tired of people acting like 7 out of 10 is not good. Like 7 is really good. If you get a 7, you're doing well.
But yeah, 4 to 6 is mid. That's mid.
Like if you get 70% on an exam, you've done well.
I think here's the thing. I really like the first Extraction, both Extraction movies, but I give the first one like a 6. Like,
yeah, I think that's fair. Honestly, that's probably generous in terms of the amount of plot armor in that fucking movie.
I gave Stranger Things season 4 a 6 in our stream we did with Bagel, and like that was a stream of me adamantly defending that season because I love it. Like I don't know.
like Shiva and I watched that season together, and I was like pointing out plot hole after plot hole to the point where like she was getting kind of annoyed with me.
Well,
And even then,
Like,
my conclusion as well was that it was about a 6 out of 10.
Okay, all right. Spider-Man is saying that he knows that 7 out of 10 is decent. He's saying that he thinks it's better than 7 out of 10. This is
Great, so do we.
yeah,
So Spider-Man, you might want to sit down for this, but it actually turns out that 8 is higher than 7. It's a bigger number.
I think that it's really good.
This is a great
We're just saying
show.
that
It's almost like we fucking
I'm just saying
said that.
those of us who do give it a 7 out of 10, that's not a low score. Like they still like it.
I mean, I'm closer to like 7 like personally, but that's just
what I give it.
that's just due to like how
what?
shit.
Fuck you, Spider-Man. I'm giving it a 2. I'm annoyed now.
We changed it. Changed the title.
I'm giving it a
And I
1
give
because
this
of no
a-
Batman.
And I give this a 2 out of 10.
I'm
Penguin
Spider-Man.
The Penguin full series shit down.
Yeah, this penguin is not the penguin in Edinburgh Zoo who is both gay and the colonel in chief of the Norwegian army. Therefore, it's a bad show.
True.
There you go. This is not the.
It's too woke, dude. It's too woke. There's like I think a woman in like 1 episode. I think so. There you go.
I like how you're like that's too woke, but the gay penguin is not too woke.
The thing is, right, that like as far as my rating works, it's just like, look, when the penguin is good, it's really fucking good. There's just
Problems, yeah.
just a couple episodes that are not good. That's just the thing.
Well, I wouldn't even say that. Like, there's not a couple episodes that are not good. There's just a couple episodes that have major plot problems that like hold it down significantly. You know, like keep it from being the 9 out of 10 that it could otherwise be if they just redrafted the script a little bit.
Well, that's the thing. Like the lowest ranking I'd give to any episode in this entire series is a 6.
Yep.
And that is the only one. There's only one that I would give that to. All the rest are 7s or 8s or 9s.
Which one is it? 4 or 5? I think 4.
Note.
Probably 4. Although 5 is also pretty bad.
Oh, and the penguin's good. It's great. So
Yeah, Penguin is good. Anyway. It's my job now to get people back on track. Apparently. So Sophia Falcone now has Pingu's mum. Pingu is meanwhile in the basement when Sal Maroni turns up with a bunch of guys because he now knows where the drug operation is as well, thanks to Sophia's magically precise knowledge.
Wait, hang
Sal
on,
breaks
what?
in with his.
Because of the apartment.
What do you mean? What?
What are you talking about?
Because she knew exactly what apartment.
Sal breaking into the drug pit with his guys.
Well, Penguin led him there. I'm sorry. You said that like.
Oh shit! Yeah. Sorry, no,
okay,
I'm misremembering.
I was confused. I was confused. That's why I asked. Sorry.
No, that's fine.
There we go.
No, that's just me. That's just me misremembering. Yeah. So like anyway, Sal grabs Pingu and forces Pingu to open the doors to the drug place, and they go into the underground tunnels where the drugs are being made. And Sal and his 3 guys, which I'll be honest, I don't think is nearly enough. Sal.
I thought he brought in more guys.
Like, okay,
than
we're
that.
running.
Why didn't he?
It's not a huge amount. Yeah, it's like he didn't bring. Well, regardless, he doesn't bring in like more than a handful of dudes with him. And he's like, okay, we're in charge now. Pingu's going to die in 2 seconds, but all of you schmucks, you work for me now. And obviously these guys, because they're in the same camp as Vic, is like thinking Oz is like a man of the people and one of them, and he's given them hope and jobs, and he turned the power back on in their forgotten neighborhood. So they're quite loyal to Pingu. I don't know why I've settled on calling him Pingu. Just run with it. But Oz, there we go. I've broken the pattern. Oz like gives a little look to the guy who's nearest to like the power generators that control the lights under there, and the guy cottons on quick. And so while Sal's giving his little I've taken over speech, the guy flicks the lights, and all the lights go off. And obviously, what happens immediately is all the guys, Lords of Penguin, just rush the guys with guns in the dark and like just massively outnumber them and overpower them. Sal and Oz get into a fight because Sal's like, well, at least I'm going to kill you into this equation. And they're in the middle of their fight when Sal has a heart attack and dies.
Lame.
Yeah.
I was just thinking,
what?
And the Penguin gets mad. He gets mad that he can't brag to him enough.
Well, okay, so
I'm
of 2 minds about this because of what you just said, Slov. Like, on the one hand, I understand what they were going for there, right? Like, Penguin doesn't get the satisfaction of I beat you, right? Because like he didn't. Like Sal just fucking got a heart attack and died. I was like, oh well.
What the?
But that's still a plot
Also,
contrivance. It's like that doesn't
It's
undermine
still
the fact.
massively
It is.
contrived.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I love it when
If
my
you-
when my character is in a fight to the death with someone that's really intense, and then he is just he's saved by just divine
But
intervention
that's-
like this.
So the instant rework I thought of was like, so make it to where the fight is already as good as won for Ping. Like Oz is gonna win no matter what, but then he gets robbed of the victory because of the heart attack. So it's like, oh, well, there you go.
I would just take the heart,
another way.
hang on, I just take the heart attack out of the equation entirely because either way, it's a huge contrivance. Of all the times he could have had a heart attack, this is the moment. Also, I know he's been stabbed earlier, but that was in the gut, and like all the signs have indicated that Sal is actually like he's not super old. Like he's a fairly fit man with no sense of health problems. Like it's not like he's been taking heart medication or anything through the season. He just randomly dies here. It's very
Well, like
odd.
it was a very
That's what I was
stressful
going to say.
situation.
At least set it up.
Wait,
Set it the fuck up.
wait. I think the way to do this, right, is like you have them fighting in the tram, and just as like, it's on a knife edge as to who's going to win. Like maybe they're literally grappling over a knife, and then one of Penguin's guys who's followed them in, just like clocks Salvatore from the back. Like smashes him over the head with something and kills him out. And Oz is really fucked off and just like shoots the guy out.
So it's like a Jamie Lannister moment where like one of his men like crippled Ned Stark, so he didn't get the satisfaction of like, oh, I had it. I didn't need your help.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the way you do that, because then it's not contrived that like, because obviously like it is not contrived that in this big melee where they're all trying to defend Oz and their own enterprise, that someone would try and find Oz to make sure he was okay.
I do wonder
I
if
think that works perfectly fine.
having
Random heart
Penguin,
attack is bullshit though.
I don't know that I'd have him lash out to the point where he kills the guy that saved him, because like as in characters I think that would be, I think it's too soon to reveal just how monstrous Penguin is to people that are actually loyal to him and that want to help him, Like I think him killing Vic needs to be the moment that really showcases that.
That's true. Maybe just have that happen and then like have Penguin scream at the corpse anyway, and like have the guy who saved him look a bit like unnerved by that.
I got you! I got you!
Yeah, I like how he does that again, like the
Yeah,
I
he
got
does.
you thing.
I remember when I was watching it, I was like, he said the thing!
The line,
But yeah, him having that heart attack is really fucking lame, and I didn't like that.
Yeah, so anyway, Oz takes back control of his enterprise, and then Sal's phone gets a call from Sophia, who's just come out of Arkham, because in between when this was all going on, obviously the mum is like back at Falcone Manor with Sophia like using her therapist boyfriend / boy toy / tool guy to try and break through her dementia to get information on Oz that she can use to hurt Oz. Meanwhile, she's having to clear up the mess of that Gia is threatening in Arkham to maybe like tell the police that what actually happened, or at least intimate what actually happened, and so she goes to Arkham to basically frighten the small girl into shutting the fuck up.
Hang on, sorry, we gotta go back to this. So someone said, of all the times he could have a heart attack, it's during a physical fight. What a shock! And then this person goes on to say, this contrivance argument is so stupid. So here's the thing, people can like physically exert themselves without their hearts giving out on them. That's a thing that's most people are actually capable of doing, even older people like Sal. So like,
Who got stabbed a few episodes.
So like, it's clearly it's not the stress, because that's something
And
that
swam the river apparently.
Yeah. So like
in the river.
So like
getting stabbed cause a heart attack.
The point that we're making is that like it's not impossible that he could have had a heart attack, especially given the circumstances, but that's still contrived. It just is. Like, I'm sorry. That's just what that is.
This goes down to the definition of a contrivance of like, it's something that is technically possible, but is very unlikely. Like, if you want to do this work of being like, in other words, if you want him to have a heart attack here, what you have to do for the audience is to like severely lower the probability to make it, more likely than not. Otherwise, it is very unlikely.
Also, was there really much of was he ever established to have heart attacks?
No, that's what.
That's what we're getting
he's
at.
not actually that old, because Clancy Brown is not that old. He's a physically fit man. He's a crime boss who exercises in prison. He can survive a stab wound. He's not been shown to have any history of medical issues or health problems or anything. And then he suddenly has a heart attack here. It's incredibly unlikely.
We've got one person saying that he had high cholesterol.
When the hell is that established? Also, having high cholesterol, by the way, even if that had been like maybe like during the making the meal scene with Sophia, he might have mentioned it offhand. I can't remember. But even if he had done that, right, it is not so bad that he's having to take heart medication. At least as far as we're aware, it's more just like I'm getting older, my cholesterol's a bit higher.
Sheev, do you think the Penguin is better than Joker fully ado? Obviously. Because Folia Du's
Very
fucking
obviously.
terrible.
It's really
Did we lose
bad.
Andrew, by the way?
Oh, Garuga said that. Oh, Garuga
Yeah.
says I said that as a joke.
Well, so
All
yeah,
right, no.
I don't
okay.
think the show
Alright.
ever did establish anything about high cholesterol.
We-
Where the fuck
yeah,
did Andrew go?
Yeah, I was about to say, like, where is Andrew?
He just dipped. He's gone.
Gross.
He just
All
fucking leaves.
He's
No,
back. Bye, Andrew.
He's hungry. He just come back.
hold on. So, yeah, Garuga, I'm sorry. Listen, I was under the impression that like you were trying to say something in defense of like of the show because we'd already been arguing with someone in chat who was trying to claim like this isn't a problem. So I don't know.
Yeah. So
Anyway.
we apologize if like you took it personally, but like it's not. It wasn't intended as like we were pushing back on a very like specific line of argument, and then your joke came in, and bear in mind we can't read tone in a chat.
And then,
Yeah,
and then
but
there's
like
the timing.
I also just felt like the like it is worth addressing the fact that yes, this is obviously a very stressful and physically exertive situation Sal has found himself in. So like even if someone in chat hadn't brought that up, which they did, like I felt like that was something that was worth kind of knocking down in case anyone was thinking it, or like would potentially want to counter with that.
This stream is a 10 out of 10. Don't insult your listener, Chief. What if they say something that's worth insulting?
Yeah, some of them just keep doing it. I don't know. Anyway,
Your listeners are your sacred cow.
what?
The Sophia. Sorry, go on.
No, go for it.
No, I was essentially just trying to get us back on track by like kind of reestablishing where we're at, but it sounded like you were doing that anyway. So after you.
Yeah, what I was gonna ask was like, what other like plot issues do we have? I think because I think that's more or less all of them, right?
Yeah.
I think I have a slight plot issue with the ease with which Vic organizes the coup.
You're talking about when he reaches out to Link and then Link betrays Fang Zhao.
Well, Link I'm on board with because I think that was enough set up, in terms of Link's relationship to Oz. I think that's fine, but I didn't think we got anything on any of the other mob bosses that literally all of their underlings hated them. That's like I'm glad it worked out that way for Oz, but it is weird that like of all these other small gangs, every single one of them had an underling who was like just absolutely gunning for the guy in charge.
It may not make much sense, but I'll give the show this because the thematically does play into how that links with Oz, with what you were talking about earlier. That's like a dog eat dog world. That's kind of why I give a slight pass to that, but I get what you mean.
Yeah, because like, well, I'd even go as far as to say that it's initially presented as yes, Penguin is the man of the people, and like the people are rising up to stand with him. But like when you have that extra context by the end of like who Oz really is and what he really inspires, yeah, like it recontextualizes it to where now it's more just like these are people just like Oz who have seen an opportunity and seized it, Like
I think that's the thing. Is
maybe
the way you get around that is maybe the way you get around that is like just Vic is obviously under the impression that they're all doing it out of like mutual community and like like fuck our overlords, we're all going to rise up and be somebody. But actually, what's happened is he's just given everyone an excuse to like rally around someone who's going to give them a better seat at the table than they already have.
Pretty much, yeah.
But even then, I'm still like, what? All of them were sociopaths. Like all of them were like that. There's no people like Vic in this organization at any of these levels.
Vic is the exception.
It's not a huge. Yeah, it's not a huge thing. Like I think it's perfectly plausible. I was a little taken aback at like how quickly that turnaround happens of Vic being like, I reached out through Link to all these underbosses, like all these like the underbosses of these little gangs, and they all leapt at the chance to coordinate a mass assassination, Godfather style. I was like, that is a bit quick. I would have liked more setup on that, I think. But like, all right, sure.
I guess to an extent there is the speech that he gave to the mob bosses that he was trying to get to like join forces with him, and what was it, episode 6 at the Golden Summit he called it. Mm-hmm. You could interpret that as him like he's really talking to the people standing behind them, like Link, like the people who like work for the the Sullivans or the O'Donovans or something. Like you think he's talking to people like Fang Zhao, but like really he's talking to people like Link, as I guess like you could reinterpret that to be what he's, because he's talking about how like we they shun us and they ignore us and they overlook us, and like it's up to us to like take the power that we want. right? Because we're all like, at the end of the day, just those broke kids from a broke neighborhood who have nothing to our names and had to pull ourselves up by the bootstraps.
Yeah, I agree. I think that is goes a way to set up the assassination. I just wonder if it's enough. Again, this is not me taking a definitive stance. I'm just expressing the subjective experience I had while watching the show, which even with that speech and the context of that speech, I still thought that was a little bit quick.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'm just saying, like, if you wanted to, I think you could easily interpret that scene as some setup, but like, I don't know that it's enough.
Yeah. But otherwise, I think we're at the end of the plot problems. Thank goodness. I think we can get back to
one
peak
very small one was Penguin getting away at the end after selling Sophia out to the police. I think you mentioned that one.
Oh yeah, he just vanishes. He teleports out of existence for that.
No, like Jolly and I were joking about how like we like the version of this where, because we're looking at this, obviously we're just looking at Sophia like accepting her fate, and then suddenly the police sirens turn on, like a very close up shot on her like side profile. But like, I'm just imagining what's really happening there is Oz is like slowly backing away quietly, like quietly opening his car door and getting in, and like, you know.
No, he obviously
he doesn't even turn on the car engine because that would give him away. So actually, he doesn't get in the car.
No, he drives a Prius.
Front bumper and like slowly.
He drives a Prius. Yeah.
No, he obviously
slowly pushes the car down the road in neutral. You know.
No, he obviously had a trick umbrella that can lift him up and fly like a helicopter.
Yeah, the helicopter's out of there.
Like the Penguin the Batman cartoon.
Yeah, he's something else. He has level 100 speech and level 100 sneak. That's insane, especially with that leg too.
Yeah,
I was about to say, like, this is such a minor thing, and obviously they didn't have to do this. I was just kind of sad they didn't. Like, I was really hoping that at some point in the show he'd kill someone with an umbrella, just as a callback to like the fact that he has an umbrella in comics.
I was hoping he would wear a top hat at some point.
Yeah, I was looking forward to that.
At the end.
No, he has it, but he doesn't wear it.
Yeah, he doesn't wear it.
That's kind of like because Matt Reeves does it because Matt Reeves hates comic books.
Dude. Yeah, he doesn't get his monocle either, which is a bit of a shame.
Yeah, I just think, man, umbrella with a retractable blade, just do it.
No, not even just with the blade. Just like he just kills someone with an umbrella.
That would be just excellent.
Like jams it.
No, it needs to be a gunbrella. It needs to be a gunbrella. He needs to shoot someone with a fucking semi-automatic umbrella.
Those things actually do exist. The KGB used them.
Well, they used to. I don't know if they still do. Nowadays, they just smear poison on doorknobs and then
used. I said
Salisbury.
Yes, I said used past tense. I'm sorry if that didn't come through.
Oh, sorry. I just had used. I was going to say, yeah, they're not nearly that surreptitious these days.
No. I said used.
You guys are so fucking pedantic.
But yeah.
Anyway.
Don't you hate like every show? Like, shut the fuck up, dude.
True, including this one.
I especially hate Spider-Man 2002.
So we get down to. So thank you, Stephen, for reminding me. We get down to like obviously Sophia, who went to Arkham to shut Gia up, had her little epiphany. We've discussed all that, but on her way out, she phones Sal to be like, "Is Oz dead? Like, have you finished them all off?" And Oz is like, "Fuck you, bitch! I'm coming for you now." And Sophia later on, she decides to be like, "Okay, we'll do an exchange, right? Like, I'll give you back your mum and I'll get the drugs thing. Is I think what Oz suggests, right? Like I'll give you everything if you give me back my mum." And Sophia's like, "Well, I'm so tired of this criminal bullshit now. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to upend the table again." So she actually just drives a bomb into his underground lair that Oz recognizes just in time. He flees into the little bit of the tunnels where he drowned his brothers that has like a shuttable iron door. The bomb goes off, and a giant explosion fucking kills dozens of people in the poorest neighborhood of Gotham. In broad daylight, and Batman will still not get involved.
He will give them moral support on the news.
Yeah, he's actually just sitting in Wayne Tower right now, being like, "Oh, I guess the poor neighborhood's out of my sight. Cool."
He's busy playing Among Us.
He hates black people.
He's like, this, like, Alfred, this is probably not the best time to bring it up, but like, they're inferior. Master Wayne.
Yeah, that actually explains why he didn't go with Selena at the end of the Batman. He's like, I would, but you're mixed race, so.
I don't like.
Hey, Alfred, you gonna be at the clan meeting this week?
racist, but we already have racist Spider-Man thanks to Spider-Man Lotus. When will we get racist Batman?
I need to beat up poor people.
Oh yeah,
Batman's classist, not racist.
The Reddit version of Batman that everyone likes to pretend likes to bring up whenever they're trying to be like pseudo-intellectual, you know, or like he's actually the fascist underpinnings of Batman, where he, going around like this rich guy going around beating up poor people and not actually doing anything to help the community.
That's just crazy.
Yeah, people don't understand Batman and should be silent. Is the
They should be
takeaway from
shot and
Reddit.
killed. I'm looking at you, Eric.
Yeah, with an
Kripke.
automatic umbrella. Yeah. Oh, Eric Kripke, well, he has such good takes on superheroes himself. Everything about those scenes in season 4 of The Boys were great. Oh, yeah. Anyway, so the bomb goes off. Oz gets out, but then one of Sophia's henchmen is hanging around. It's the corrupt cop guy, right? Like the former cop.
Kinsey?
Is hanging around.
The guy who got shot in the head. That was great.
No, not
that was
Ken-
so
not-
sad.
not
It's the guy that they bribe with drops.
Oh yeah,
that
that guy. He dies.
Yeah,
There
he
he
grabs
goes.
Oz and then brings him to the jazz club that Oz went to as a kid with his mum, where his mum was
Monroe's.
planning to have him murdered by Calabrese.
Oh, but we don't know that yet. At least at this point in the show. The only thing we associate
Well, the chat
Monroe's
because we've already
with,
mentioned it.
the only thing we associate Monroe's with right now is like a fond memory Oz has of the first night that his mom got out and started doing things again after the death of his brothers. And like they the first time he heard live music and they danced and it was great. And it was the best night of his life, or like one of them, which I think that's really sad. The way they both, the way he views that night when in reality that night was her going to kill her own son. Man.
Are you guys seeing that Andrew was in chat saying that his internet died?
I was about to say, like, that's a bit of a contradiction there, surely, Andrew. If
Yeah,
you're
I get-
commenting on chat that your internet.
Yeah, bro was saying skill issue to them. Fuck you, Andrew. Goodbye.
Get back in here, Andrew, you coward.
Get bent.
He may be on his phone. Like it hasn't.
Still cowardly.
He's on McDonald's Wi-Fi.
Yeah, and then we have a scene where Sophia is trying to like break Oz by like getting by torturing the mum until Oz admits what she already knows from the mum, which is that like Oz killed his brothers, and she wants him to admit it to the mum and break this facade. And he just won't. He just won't do it,
He
even
just
when her
won't.
fingers are on the line. He just won't do it, and she has to scream at him that she knows what he is, and she actually hates his guts, and she's been using him, just to get a better life for herself because that was really her only option at this point. But her love for him is a complete lie, and that she fucking despises him.
Yeah.
Which I really
And then
like
she stabs
this
him with a broken bottle.
because when I was first watching through the show, I remember taking note of the behavior of Oz's mom, and I remember being kind of weirded out by it. Like, obviously, to an extent, some of the things she does, you could excuse as like, this is a very old and frustrated woman who's dealing with like what is it called, Lewy body, which is, as far as I'm aware, basically just Alzheimer's. Like, that is a very frustrating condition to have, right? So like
it's vascular, it's vascular Alzheimer's.
Right. So like the way that she bitches and moans and complains every time Oz does anything, when from what we're seeing, he's genuinely trying to help her and take care of her. You kind of just look at her and you're like, what the fuck is your problem, lady? But then like you go back through the show with the added context of like how she actually views him and why, and you're like, oh, this all makes complete sense now. Yeah, like I get it.
Yeah. And then after she stabs him with a broken bottle, she hallucinates her two sons. And then she I guess has a stroke or something and goes into a coma, basically, which actually makes sense, right? Because if this is vascular dementia, so like a stroke totally makes
So
sense.
she had a heart problem that was actually set up and which caused her to like lose all function. It's almost like you can do that, chat.
In a stressful situation, yeah.
It's almost like that can work.
Also, it's not like she is literally in a fight to the death with our main character.
Well, she kind of is.
Well, no, she was being tortured. She's under severe stress. She was kidnapped. She's had like invasive therapeutic practices on her. Now she stabbed her son.
No, what I mean to say is that it's not like Oz's life has been saved as a result of her being
Right. Yeah. It's like this isn't a contrivance,
Yeah.
really. and it hasn't facilitated like our main character getting out of another scrape.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it
that's what I was trying
sort of
to say.
doesn't. That the broken bottle allows him to cut the ropes, right?
Yeah. Well, but still, it's actually something that's set up properly and not contrived, which is neat.
Also, yeah, actually, now I think about it, I don't actually think that is what happens. I think he just breaks free of the chair in anger at that point. I don't think he does use the bottle.
He puts all of his weight on one leg. That's actually a way you can get out of that. Kind of. But anyway, I wanted to see if I can articulate this right. So she kind of in a way betrays him, but he doesn't really take any kind of revenge on her in a way. In fact, he tries to save her. Now, you can read into that all you want, but I do think that's interesting, though. He does leave her alive by the end of the series. And she clearly doesn't like that. She told him she didn't want that. Yet he still can't let her go. Why is it, do you think, he keeps her around? I was going to say the reason might be is because he might view her because she does champion him, and her championing him does make his life better in the end, because we clearly saw that. Do you think maybe that's why he keeps her around and why he loves her?
Well, so I think there are layers.
I
to
don't
this,
think
right?
he does.
You could interpret it as he's punishing her because of the fact that she just revealed that she hates him, and like he wants her to live in a life of suffering. But I don't know that it's necessarily that. I think what this is again, he idealizes this version of being the Rex Calabrese on a larger scale, of being the guy who provides, and like, you know, part of that, like a major part of that goal was, I'm gonna get a penthouse that overlooks the city so that my mom can look out at and see the view. And like, even though she is trapped in her own body and hates every second of her existence and just wants to die, the fact that he has provided that for her, to him at least, like, almost signifies, like, you know, I've done that. I am the guy who's providing and taking care of my mom now, and I've gotten her the thing that I said I always would, you know?
Yeah,
he doesn't even,
it's like what you're saying, it's the I, me, I'm doing this.
It's selfishness all over again. I think what's happened there is, like, his mom, Stephen actually has a good way of putting this in the chat as well. Like, his mom was only ever like a blank slate for him to project his own narcissism onto. Like, she was the cornerstone of his narcissism.
And that's what I'm saying, is that why he keeps her around. Is that...
Well, yes, like when he made her the promise that he would let her die if she was in that state, like, he's lying. Like, he would never let her go like that. Like, his entire existence is based around the idea of like pleasing her. And even when like it's overt that she doesn't love him, he just, like, you know, puts that to one side and pretends it doesn't happen, and puts her in that room and is like, I did it, Mom. I did this. You see, be proud of me. Like, even like, you know, when she has this, when he finds out that she is brain dead, essentially, he's not like, oh no, my mom. He's like, be proud of me. Tell me that you're proud of me. Tell me that you're proud of me. Like, that's what he wanted, like, from her. It was the affirmation. She is just the center of his mad world.
That's why he has Eve dress up as his mom and refer to him as like her boy and say, I'm proud of you. Which, my God, a therapist would have a field day with that.
I mean, that's just all Batman villains in a nutshell, right? Like, maybe that's why Arkham continues to function even with all the crazies. Like, honestly, isn't that literally Harley's backstory? Is that Harley went to Arkham specifically because people like the Joker are so fucking fascinating?
Yeah.
Yeah, that works well for her.
There's something in the water, dude. Something in the water.
Gotham is a really messed up place.
Something in the water.
But yeah, so like that's obviously what happens. Is like he breaks free at that point. He gets out of there. Vic he shoots the corrupt cop man in the head. And manages to get Vic back on the phone. They link back up. And then what happens is Oz goes to City Hall to pressure the congressman or the city councilor that he pressured earlier to get the lights back on, with information where it's like, I can give you the Falcones on a silver platter. You can be like, this can be the greatest political windfall of your life, as long as we're both clear that we're allied on this, right? You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. That's the play Oz is making here. And the councilor's like, okay, yeah, I'm on board with that, potentially. We see a little glimpse of Bella Real as the mayor-elect, which is neat. She's just in the corner somewhere.
She exists.
Yep, she's in this world. Oz comes back, and while Oz was away, Vic got a phone call from Link, because Sophia's been like, okay, to get Oz back, I'll go to all these little gangs and be like, I'm leaving Gotham. Whoever brings me Oz's head, you get the whole pie. You get to inherit the Falcone crime family. And so Link, who's not on board with this, because he views his own boss as and the Falcones as the pieces of shit that Oz painted them as, phones up Vic, being like, okay, here's my offer. We'll pretend to bring him in, and then we'll double-cross my boss and all the other gang bosses, and we'll take over with Oz at the head. Because I'm sick of these bastards. Yep. And so Vic organizes this play, And so what happens is Fao Zheng, right? Is the triad guy.
Fang Zhao.
Fang Zhao, sorry, yeah. Fang Zhao brings Oz to the air hangar where Sophia's waiting to get on her private jet to get out of the country after having burnt down her house, which I bet she didn't tell anyone about because I feel like I feel like she offered the house as part of the deal, but
she did.
Well. Yeah. But she burned it down, and then Fang brings Oz there, and Oz, at that point, the double cross comes off. Fang is killed by Link, and Sophia's like, oh shit, I'm fucked. Because now Oz has all the cards.
Yep.
And that's when we... Oh, sorry, go on, Slov.
I was going to say, I like how like Oz's revenge for her is putting her in the place she hated the most.
Yeah,
putting her back in
Arkham.
Yeah.
That's something
I think it's bad because she can potentially come back, but it's like, okay.
Well, I mean,
killing
her
death from her perspective.
Well, from Oz's perspective, killing her gets him nothing because, like, he made that deal with Councilman Haiti that's really contingent on her arrest. So she needs to be alive for that. Yeah. But, like, narratively speaking, I mentioned this to Jolly. I was really satisfied with the way, like the fates that like a bunch of characters ended up with, right? Like the worst possible version of of reality that they could possibly conceive of. Like, you know, Sophia gets thrown back into Arkham. His mom ends up a vegetable, like being treated by a son that she despises and fears and considers a monster. You know, Vic obviously goes without saying. But even Oz to an extent, right? Like, this goes back to he didn't get the satisfaction of killing Sal, and he didn't get the satisfaction of like his mom making it fully cognitively to the point where he has succeeded the way that he said he would, so that she could say that I'm proud of you, you know?
Yeah, so basically what happens is everyone gets a really dark, twisted, like, hollow victory, right? Like, where they get the thing they wanted, but it's almost like a devil's bargain thing of like, it's designed to be a hell, you know, even though it technically fulfills the definition of what they wanted. So Oz gets to be the guy on top. He gets to put his mum in the penthouse, but it's a mum who hates him, who's comatose, who he has to pretend via a stripper that actually loves him. He never actually gets the respect he wanted. He's just feared. Like, he's on top now, but no one likes him. Like, no one wants him there, really. Vic is dead. Vic found his family only to get fucking murdered by them. Sophia wants to get out of the criminal life and be away from it all and be isolated from all of them, and boy did she get that. You know, like, everyone gets their just desserts, even though they get the thing, quote unquote, they wanted, and it's really like satisfying.
It's beautiful. It's actually really beautiful. Thanks for highlighting that for me. Yeah, it's like that for a lot of people. But to add on to your point, even Penguin's girl, in a way.
Oh yeah, she's trapped.
It's horrifying for her because she's trapped with him too. And it's like that's the person that killed all her friends, or at least knew about it.
We mentioned that earlier. She's trapped because there's no getting away from him, even if she were to flee. And successfully get away, like that compromises her girls, and he would just go after them, and she's not willing to let that happen. So even though she fucking despises this man because of who she now understands him to be, she's stuck with him, and she just has to go along with it. Mm-hmm. Everyone is in hell.
Yeah, constantly fearing, by the way, that at some point he'll work out that she's the one who dobbed him in.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, it's just fucking crazy. Like, what a perfect ending to a great show.
Yep, with one small caveat, which is obviously like the final part of the show is like Oz is like dancing with Eve in his apartment. He's dressed up as like Penguin from the comics. He's got his penthouse, and then the bat signal. I think Eve even goes like, "There's no one to challenge you now." And then the bat signal turns on, and I'm like, "Oh, so you do exist?
So you do know the difference."
Like, I imagine like Gordon just like when Batman shows up, he's like, "Hey, where the fuck were you, dude?"
Why aren't you here? Don't you have a city?
What's been happening?
Oh, and then also we get the thing of Sophia gets like a bunch of fan mail apparently, which, you know, it's totally realistic. Crazy people do get fan mail weirdly in Arkham, but one of them is a letter from Selena Kyle, who says in the letter that she is revealing that she is the half sister of Sophia. And, like, obviously this is going to be set up for things going forward, either a season 2 of The Penguin or maybe they'll both appear in Batman Part 2. But I'm also like, what is Selena's plan here? Doesn't it feel like Sophia is someone that she should be reaching out to in sincerity, right? Given what she knows about... Like,
the only reason... Sorry, but the only reason I think she's doing that is because she probably saw the news of past events and what happened to her family and how she was the only survivor, and she's probably putting 2 and 2 together of, you
killed
your
them,
family.
yeah, which makes us pretty fucking square because like I hate them too.
Well, I actually think it's something slightly different, which is obviously like the thing that she hates the Falcones for is like for Carmine killed her mom.
Yeah.
And like with Sophia, the public perception is like, oh, she killed all these women in the 44 Below, and like the only one who's going to doubt that really is Selena, because Selena knows the truth about what Carmine was.
Yeah.
So it's more like the press is like, oh, we've reinterred the hangman who killed all those women in the club, and Selena's seen it on the news and been like, well, I know that's not true, so she's reaching out.
Yeah.
To make me feel better, Jolly, it could be both.
Yeah, it could be Selena it could just be Selena manipulating her, because like no offense to Selena, Selena's a quote unquote good character. She's not like a morally like perfect one. She is a criminal at the end of the day.
She knows Batman's an incel. She's working him up and down.
No, but she made the right call and didn't tarnish her soul at the end, and I think that was a very beautiful arc for her.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I think that was good. I just think it's funny that it's like Slov's point there of like maybe Selena's plan here was like, well, Batman wouldn't stay for just me, but if I had another hot girl into the
mix, just bang both of Falcone's daughters. Yeah. Yeah.
I was about to say like Sophia is kind of Batman's type as well. Of like
that's crazy.
Black-haired girl with severe parent issues.
That's what I love about the Batman. It's very incelian. I love it.
Incelian. That's an inspired way of putting it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I would use this. I would say insulate, but that's because I wanted to make a joke about insulating. Anyway, yeah. So that's the end of the show, and yeah, overall, excellent.
Terrible.
Excellent stuff.
No, yeah, excellent.
I want to give a special shout out as well to like, I mean, there's so much to praise in isolation, but especially the acting performances of Colin Farrell and Christina. Is it Milotti?
Milioti?
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I've only ever seen her in like comedies and things before. Like obviously she was in How I Met Your Mother, and she's the mother.
Yeah.
And she's in.
She is the titular mother.
Yeah. She was the quote unquote ugly first wife in Wolf of Wall Street.
Yes, she was
ugly.
And she was also in Palm Springs, which is a film I quite like as well, which is like a kind of twist on Groundhog Day.
Oh, you've seen Palm Springs? I didn't know that.
I have. I like it. It's good.
I love that movie.
I love Palm Springs. We were just talking about that yesterday.
Yeah.
She's really hot in that movie as well.
Yeah.
I mean, she's hot in everything, but because she's just really hot. But like I've only ever seen her in comedies. She's never been given like I think a dark thing to play with before, and then she just eats up this role. Like if she's not Emmy nominated, in fact, if she doesn't like at least get the nomination, but if she doesn't win an Emmy for this, I'll be shocked.
She ate
because she's really good.
She's got really good range.
Someone in chat just said, "Is Penguin worth watching?" Well.
Yeah.
Yes.
No. If only we had just done a stream on that.
That's my buddy Fabe. He's a character.
But yeah, also Colin Farrell, because like I know obviously it goes without saying at this point, he's a very a very historied actor. He's got a lot of roles under his belt. His chops are not in question. Even with that said though, to wear the fat suit every day, which is incredibly stifling and like incredibly uncomfortable, to put on the voice every day, to be in that kind of character and do that kind of show and produce that kind of performance, because like as he's super famous, and I totally forgot it was him under there when I was watching the show.
Oh yeah,
I was like totally absorbed in Oz.
Multiple times I forget that's Colin Farrell, because like I'm just like
vanished.
He vanishes into
this role.
He doesn't even look like him, and it's so convincing.
Or sound like him.
I was talking about this.
Excellent.
I was talking about this with Sheev earlier this month, because Sheev and I saw a movie that a very few people have seen that we're going to do a stream about eventually, called Juror Number 2. And I think my biggest criticism of that movie is like it's really funny that this is my biggest criticism, but Kiefer Sutherland is cast as a character with like 3 scenes in the movie, and he looks exactly the same as he looks everywhere else, and I'm just so distracted.
Just distracted that's Kiefer Sutherland, like that's Jack Bauer.
Yeah, that's Jack Bauer. I'm sorry. Like he looks the same as he did in 24, in Touch, and in Designated Survivor. And so I'm just looking at this as like, man, he's like taking on so many different roles to avoid being typecast as Jack Bauer. But the problem is he hasn't like decided to change his appearance at all to like look like different characters.
So but, I'm gonna take this opportunity to say, everyone go watch Juror Number 2 in theaters if you can. It's really fucking good. One of the best movies to come out this year, if not the best.
If there's a theater within an hour of driving for you, go see it.
Yeah. Because that's what I did.
Yeah,
They're only showing it in select theaters. The fucking bastards.
Well,
I hate Warner
it's
Brothers.
it's going to be on HBO Max in, I think, 25 days. So everyone will get a chance to like really check it out in a month. But I mean, we gotta have a stream on that, of course.
God, I can't wait to pirate it. Oh, did I say that out loud?
Allegedly.
I will say as well, like just as a comparison, because it's a film I've rewatched recently. If you see like Colin Farrell and Banshees of Inisherin, and then you watch like this thing, like the
two
fucking
completely
range of this
different
man.
characters. Yeah, like if you
insane.
If I didn't know who Colin Farrell was, and you just took that character and Penguin and said, "Do you think these are played by the same actor?" I'd be like, "No,
no."
Yeah.
Actually, I guess this is worth addressing because it is a discussion, right? And it is related not just to this, but to things like this. Obviously, this is Colin Farrell, a very handsome man, fit man in a fat suit. I have seen people criticizing this as being like, well, why don't you just cast plus size actors? Like, it's really demeaning and it reduces opportunities that you're just giving these roles to like, you know, fit actors who in slipping a fat suit on them. And I don't agree with this line of thought, but I'm just curious what everyone thinks about that.
Oh, I think it's total bullshit.
I think it's fine."
Like, fuck fat people, dude.
I don't think I agree with it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Are you guys unfamiliar with the concept of acting?
Yeah. That's...
Well, so the point I guess they're making is that like, you know, roles for fat people are in short supply because of things like fat phobia, and so like the few times they're available, to give it to a big name actor and just slapping a fat suit on him is almost demeaning to fat people.
Well, I can just say to that, like, lose weight. But
Well,
then you'll get more roles. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
To be fair, there's people who are fat who have no control over that.
That's true.
Nothing to do with them. You know,
That's true.
Nothing to do with personal choice in some instances. I think I see both sides of this, right? Like I don't want to live in a world where we confine actors to playing roles they already are in real life, essentially. Like, oh, you can't play a Jewish man, you're not Jewish, or like, oh, you can't play, you know, a black actor can't voice a white character in an animated film because he's black, or vice versa. You can't have like thin actors playing fat people, or non-disabled people playing disabled people, or non-gay people playing gay people. I hate that. I think it's repugnant as an ideology, and I think it ultimately just boils down to a desire for some kind of apartheid, and I think it's fucked. I also think it's incredibly anti-art to think that way, and incredibly like, you know, art is all about empathy, and by definition there, you're saying that some people can't empathize with others by dint of circumstance. Like, fuck off. That said, on a material, pragmatic level, I do see how frustrating it is for actors from minority backgrounds who don't get roles and don't get a fair shake of the stick to have, like, the few times these roles are available to just be passed over for a big name. In the same way that, like, you know, even when they're not minorities, it's a bit like when that girl, I can't even remember her name, is unfortunately the actress who originally played Ant-Man's daughter in Endgame, and then they just chucked her out for a bigger name actress, even though she did a phenomenal job in the one scene she was given, and it really annoyed me.
Oh yeah.
Well, I guess the upshot of this is like, my argument is like, it's not bad that Colin Farrell plays the Penguin. It's bad that the industry is organized in a way that the few roles like this, that, you know, that roles like the Penguin are a significant minority. That there aren't more roles like the Penguin, so that people who of those backgrounds have a fair shake.
Yeah, it's like I empathize with actors that are stuck in this situation, and it sucks. And I think that, like, yeah, sure, there is a, like, I guess, a trend in the industry that ought to be addressed. Having said that, that doesn't mean that it is a problem that we have Colin Farrell cast as Penguin, especially when it's like, well, the reality is that he's fucking excellent in the role, and that doesn't mean that like an actually overweight person wouldn't be excellent in the role. For all I know, like there could be an actor out there who doesn't need, like, you know, as much prosthetics and makeup to look like this character, who would do just as good of a job. I don't know that for sure. All I know is the one that we do have is excellent. So I don't understand why we're complaining about this. If Colin Farrell...
People are blaming the wrong thing here, right? Like, it's like, stop blaming actors for taking roles and start blaming the industry for being organized in such a way that they're prioritizing big names for money reasons over smaller names being given a chance, or prioritizing like mainstream stories over the stories of minorities because they just don't think it'll sell, right? Like, that's the problem.
Well, I mean, like, I was just about to finish my thought there. Basically, Colin Farrell's performance is good enough that it justifies this casting decision. If it wasn't good enough, if it was just a really shit performance, then I would absolutely like be on board with this idea of like, why do we cast Colin Farrell here? But that's not the world we live in. So stop whining. That's my position, basically.
was also gonna say when it comes to when Jolly was talking about how some people can't lose weight, like realistically, how many people is that in in
Actually,
Hollywood?
to be fair, a fair amount. Because also the other thing is like once you have gained a certain amount of weight, your body's by internal chemistry can change in a way that makes it very hard to lose it. It's
You really think that? You think it's that many people?
hang on, it's not that I think it. That's I know that, man. I have friends who work in the medical industry and who have doctorates in medical sciences. I know for a fact. I've seen the stats.
Okay,
Like,
all right, fair enough.
I work in neuroscience. I've seen stats on like how obesity affects your mental cognitive abilities. And even after you've lost the weight, like or even if you can lose the weight, or even like how it can form like addictive loops in the brain. Like I don't think shaming people for being fat is a good strategy. It doesn't objectively it doesn't work, and also just scientifically it's just nonsense. Like yeah, some people are fat through choice, a lot of them aren't.
Also, it's
I
just
don't know
shitty.
the exact breakdown. Yeah, I don't know the exact breakdown, but it's definitely a large enough minority, if not an outright like half and half, that like just pointing at a fat person and being like lose weight, fatty, is a really shitty thing to do. You know, I don't know. I just,
Shit, it worked for me. I'm just bad with peer pressure.
well, but again,
That's
to be clear, that is not me saying that like if you are fat, therefore you don't you can't change your life. Don't even bother. Like obviously, if you want to get thin, you can get thin. And obviously, might not want to, but if you want to get thin and you can get thin through exercise, then do that. It's good. It's good for your health. It's something you should do.
I mean,
but if you are comfortable with yourself, or if you just don't, if you physically, medically can't do that, then yeah, you should be able to live in a world where people aren't shitty to you as a result.
I mean, if Nikocado Avocado could do it.
That was Ozempic, dude. Like,
I mean, there are people like Christian Bale who can just fucking do that shit, and it's like Jesus.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what if
that's mental fortitude?
what if he just got fat for the role? Would that still be a problem, or like?
Well, I mean, I discourage that as an industry practice in general. Of like,
it is unhealthy. Like,
yeah, it's yo-yoing the weight is an abuse of actors because it makes. I think it's like Tom Hanks is diabetic, right? Because he had to like lose a fuckload of weight for Castaway and then gain it back really quickly for the next role.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's bad.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and like Christian Bale, he lost and gained weight rapidly. Like that is not healthy. It's not good for you. Don't do that.
Yeah, that's not healthy.
Yeah, I saw like that was my main problem because people were like, "Oh, why didn't he just gain the weight?" It's like because that's unhealthy, man. Like there's problems with that.
Maybe Colin Farrell
is not the standard.
Maybe Colin Farrell, who's really thin and good looking, didn't want to potentially lose that forever so that he could play one role.
Yeah, and then walk himself out of a bunch of other roles that he could play.
Yeah, because he's not young. Like Colin Farrell is in his late 40s, early 50s right now, or even maybe in his mid 50s. Like it's really hard to lose that kind of weight in your mid 50s.
Yeah, it's a miracle he looks as good as he does at late 40s. But yeah, I was gonna say I think we should. I don't think we should like get upset with actors because they don't put on the weight for a role. They just get a fat suit. But at the same time, like I don't think we should get upset with people who do gain the weight for a role. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, circumstances.
Sam in chat said, to be fair, I'm pretty sure Christian Bale, he said, has mentioned that his constant change in physique has caused permanent damage to his body. Yeah, I can believe it.
That,
yeah, I believe that would. Yeah.
Also, I just remembered also the unfortunate one where this didn't pan out. Where like it was, I think it was Ryan Gosling, right? Gained a load of weight to play the dad in the fuck is that movie called? Movie where Saoirse Ronan gets murdered as a girl and she's a ghost. Something like I think she's a character called Susie Salmon, but I can't remember what the fucking film's called. Anyway,
are you talking about The Lovely Bones?
Lovely Bones, yeah. Sorry, Ryan Gosling was originally cast to be the murderer in that, and the dad rather, her dad in that, and so he gained a load of weight to play the role, and then the film director, who I think was Peter Jackson, was like, "No, I don't want you to be fat, fuck off," and fired him and hired Mark Wahlberg.
Okay, yeah, like at that point, I feel like there needs to be like, if you're going to like physically alter your appearance for a role, there needs to be somewhere in a contract that you and the directors and everyone, like all the producers, have signed, where it's like, you cannot fire me from this role now. Because I just physically altered myself for you. Like you're not doing that.
We're locked in now. My point is like, this is a much more complex situation than people like to yell. And this is just true of most things, right? The world is deeply complicated and nuanced, and people yelling on Reddit and Twitter probably don't know.
Twitter doesn't know what nuance is. Are you fucking kidding me? I've been on there.
Yeah.
People still be on Twitter. That's crazy.
Yeah, get on Blue Sky, guys. That's where it's at.
True.
Stop giving Elmo money.
There is a very good chance that you do not have the full story, so fucking just keep it to yourself.
I mean, again, as someone who teaches, my first thing I'll always say to everyone is like, just think before you think about what you're thinking about. Like, don't just leap to conclusions. Like, take time to actually consider whether you have all the angles here, and like actually think it through before you decide that you're going to definitively die on a position, because you're just going to end up looking at dying on a load of hills that make you look mighty stupid.
Be logical, not emotional.
Well, just be reasonable. Just don't be to paraphrase our Australian friends, don't be a dick. Don't be a knob.
Never. No. I'm getting emotional, Jolly.
Steven in chat said that would be a pay or play agreement. Basically, they would get paid the full amount even if they get dropped from the part. Steven, I know, works like on film sets and stuff, so I don't like. I'm sure he's very knowledgeable about like if that's an actual practice they have in the industry. Which if it is, then good. I hope Ryan Gosling got a full payout when he gained all that weight and then didn't get accepted for the role.
I don't think he did, but oh well.
At least some kind of payment. I hope he got something out of that.
Yeah.
It depends on how far they were into the casting phase of it.
Yeah. Because I think something similar, not a weight thing, but like I think it happened with when they did Lord of the Rings, the original actor, who I think was called Stuart Townsend for Aragorn, was like 7 days or 8 days into filming they fired him because Peter Jackson was like, actually, on reflection, you're too young for this part. And
so it's Peter Jackson both times. So, fuck you, Peter.
Yeah.
Stop doing this.
Does the fat guy? I was also gonna say that happened with Matthew McConaughey too with Dallas Buyers Club, because he lost a bunch of weight for that role.
Right.
I believe his character has AIDS. And what happens is he talks about that. He's like, yeah, after the fact, that kind of hurt my body. My body was never the same. I had to see a bunch of doctors for it. But he was thankfully in enough. He was like in that shape for like Rust Cole. So that worked out for that role as well, being that thin.
Yeah.
Yeah. The bottom line here is like there are, when we're criticizing media, it's also important to point out when criticisms are wrong. Like both in specific to a show and generally towards the industry. Like people need to just take the time to think things through, and don't leap to conclusions. That's all we ask. That's what we try to do. Not that we'll always succeed, but at least we try.
No, I'll always succeed.
And on that note, Penguin, 1 out of 10. No, Penguin, 8 out of 10. I really liked it. I really liked this show. I was so glad that it was good. I was so worried for it.
Best piece of comic book media to come out this year. Which is, isn't saying much, because what do we got? Yeah. Like Deadpool and Wolverine, Venom 3.
Venom.
Yeah, I raised it that the Penguin show does not have the Venom horse.
This show was coming out at the same time as Agatha All Along, so like I haven't watched that. I won't watch that, but like the juxtaposition of like seeing things about this on Twitter and then seeing things about Agatha on Twitter, I was just like, wow, these are both like this is really just the spectrum, of like comic book media, isn't it?
I still like the joke that people made of like DC and Marvel move in cycles. Like, so when Marvel's good, DC can't be, and then DC gets good and Marvel gets shit.
Yeah.
Like, perfectly in balance, as all things should be.
Wait, Sheev, you're not watching Agatha, so you're sexist too?
Yes. I thought that was clear.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm sitting here praising a show about a white man. Like, what do you think is happening?
I do have a Penguin-related question. Oh, sorry, after you, Slov.
I was going to say, like, this also depends, like, what happens after the Batman 2, but, like, would you want to see a Penguin season 2, or would you, like, want to see, like, another show set in this world?
You stole my question, you prick. No, that's not fair. Yeah, I was about to ask, like, do we want a season 2? I'm happy for it to end with Penguin season 1. I think this is a good ending for him.
Yeah. I guess if there's going to be a season 2, it'd be cool if it took place after the Batman 2. Like, we do the Batman, Penguin, the Batman 2, Penguin season 2, if we're going to do it.
Mm-hmm. I would want a Gotham Central show.
I would love for like have the Batman 2, maybe the Penguin season 2, and then I would love for the Penguin to actually be the main antagonist of the third, Batman part.
Just round out the trilogy, and then it's sort of like a 6-part thing you can just put together and watch.
Because and if we get a Penguin season 2, please have Batman be in at least one episode if things are getting really out of hand.
I was about to say, let's be honest. The Court of Owls / Joker will be the villain of part 3.
I don't want Joker, but I'd like Court of Owls. I think that'd be neat. Andrew, you're in it.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
I can't wait for the Court of Owls to be in it. It's going to be a chance for Matt Reeves to rip off.
Actually, you know what they could do? Like, because I think this is a good place to end. Because obviously, Penguin is now essentially in his comic book position now. I think the way to do this is like have Penguin 2 not like almost be like an anthology thing. Like Penguin 2 is not about Penguin. They should be like, you know, like we have Batman Part 1, Penguin, Batman Part 2, like maybe Joker, and then, you know, although don't call it that because it's all the shitty movies, and then have Part 3. Like I think other than as a background part of the world now, Oz's story is essentially done in the Batman universe. I don't know how much he's going to contribute as a main part.
Well, I mean, now he is in the position to be the Batman villain that we've always known him to be. So like, I think now it's just a matter of how he interacts with Batman in the Batman stories.
Well, but Penguin's role as a Batman villain has never been to be like the overt antagonist in the way that like the Joker is. Like, you know, Penguin is just I am the mob boss, right? Like he is a background threat, and occasionally he does threaten Batman directly, but he's not like I'm going to take over the city and blow up the water supply, or I'm going to kill 93% of all the people in this area, or I'm going to kidnap 1,500 babies and hold them in a basement. Like that's just not Penguin's character.
You bring up a good point there because he serves as kind of what Gotham used to be and what Gotham did become after Batman was a thing, because it was mainly the mob that Batman focused on in the beginning, and that's why he became Batman. But things just got out of hand, and crazy villains just started popping up as a reaction to him. And
I disagree with that. I don't think it's a reaction to Batman.
You disagree with
those
that?
people were turning up anyway. Yeah. Like,
well, they were turning up, but they just weren't like in the same spectacle, like because Batman was there.
I disagree. Like this is actually something that the first Joker movie tried to do, then fucked up, in which I read it. People get wrong about Batman all the time. The idea that Batman somehow creates these villains, that he doesn't. Gotham creates these villains.
What's the Civil War
Batman and
vision
these villains
argument?
both
saying directly he does. I'm not saying that. I'm just
not indirectly either. Like I lay the blame of this for Batman Begins and its little end scene about like escalation, but because that's just not how the Batman villains work. It's like Gotham is an evolutionary environment that was so toxic and bad that it produces Batman on one side and the villains on the other. Like they're both responses to that, not to each other.
I think that Penguin season 2 should be a jukebox musical with Lady Gaga in a main role.
Stop.
I didn't get mad at Todd wanting to do that. I got mad at his execution. It's like you fumbled the ball like so hard, dude.
I didn't get mad at.
He
Todd.
fumbled.
I got mad at the fans.
I'm not even a fan of the Joker, like the first movie. I'm not a big fan of that movie. But it's like I was happy you wanted to take that in another direction. But I don't know why you had him like raped. Like that was kind of weird.
I mean,
so someone in chat said, "Would the Riddler be active and do the things he does without Batman being a thing for 2 years?" So that's the interesting counter. Like that's in agreement with what Jolly's saying, and I don't think you realize that that's in agreement, because like in the Batman, they did recontextualize it so that yes, the Riddler was inspired by the Batman to do the things the way that he did, and like he considered them partners that were trying to accomplish the same goal. But like how Batman reacted to finding out that that's how there were like criminals were viewing him is what made him change fundamentally, and how he approached this, and that was his entire arc in the movie.
Also, I don't know how much stock needs to be put in the delusions of the Riddler. Like, so, like, is because the argument there is like, well, Riddler took inspiration from Batman. I'm like, yeah, but if Batman hadn't been there, he'd have taken inspiration from something else.
Yeah, like
Riddler was an angry man.
Riddler was always going to do this. It didn't matter. Like, if anything, he used Batman and his vigilantism as an excuse. For something he was already going to do anyway.
I'm just gonna ask you, Jolly. Sorry, go Southpaw
first.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. This happened previously. Hold on. Daigun is in chat saying, haven't seen the show and I refuse to do so unless you can tell me I can see the penguin naked. Well, Daigun, you'd be happy to know in the very
Boy, am I
going
to DM something to you, Daigun?
DM it to him now.
Yeah. Send nudes.
Send ping nudes.
Send ping nudes. Ping nudes. Nude nudes.
Nude.
All right. Okay, I finally got that on my system. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, what if? I know you say you don't like the idea of how Batman Begins implies that or sets that up with villains being inspired off of Batman. But I was gonna say, like, it's a deliberate thing though, set up in the universe. You just don't like the concept, or like, explain that to me.
I think writers who try and play off that point have missed the entire, have missed fundamental truths about that world, and like that's the result of writers not understanding the character or the world very well and trying to set that up. Like the whole there's an evolutionary term for this kind of thing. It's called a Red Queen race, when like two sides are in opposition to each other, and so they're constantly like escalating, and advancing to counter the other, and so the other ones have to escalate and advance. Like deers get faster over time because they're chased by cheetahs, and therefore cheetahs get faster to catch them, and so they get faster to get away, and it just goes on and on, right? The idea that Batman is like that with the villains, that like, oh yeah, he creates his presence as this big theatrical nightmare monster creates these villains. I'm like, no, it doesn't. The best you can do is say that like it influences them, like it flavors them in certain ways, but it doesn't create them. Like Harvey Dent doesn't exist. Like Two-Face doesn't exist because of Batman. He exists because he's a severely damaged, traumatized individual who had a mob boss throw acid in his face. Joker doesn't exist because of Batman. Joker exists, well, we don't know why Joker exists, but if you want to take the Killing Joke background as the canon, he exists because he was a traumatized boy who became a comedian who was forced into a shitty situation. Like Batman's influence in his life was just to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, basically. Penguin was a mob boss long before Batman turned up. Poison Ivy had her own shit long before Batman had anything to do with it. Like the escalating, like the occurrence of these villains and the depth of their depravity is as an evolutionary response to the environment that Gotham City is. Like it is such a horrific place that it creates these nightmare monsters. The best you can say for Batman in terms of his influence is like maybe he influences how theatrical they are and like the tone of them in that sense, but like their depravity and their crimes had nothing to do with him.
Okay.
The existence of the Firelight.
I would just say
people like Silco.
I'm not saying that's like, oh, I see Batman on the TV, I'm gonna be just like that. I just mean more in like, and yeah, you think you get my point. It's like just with escalation, but yeah, it's like the influence.
It's not an escalation.
Thing.
Like he influences, he doesn't escalate. Like
it's kind
Joker
of like
would still be out there killing everyone. Like no, because like Joker isn't worse because Batman is there.
He would be there regardless of Batman. Yeah.
Okay, hang on. Let me raise you this. You've seen Scream, I assume, right? The first one. The rest of them, you don't have to worry. But yeah. So like you know that line about how like Billy is monologuing his big evil plans to Sydney at the end, and he's talking about how like people like to blame the horror movies for creating guys like psychopaths like us, but like horror movies don't create psychopaths. They just give psychopaths ideas. They make them more creative. That's sort of like I think what Batman can represent to Batman villains if you really want to go that route. Which, like the Joker exists, but like the fact that Batman exists and that the Joker has taken a fascination toward him is going to cause him to do sort of like go to creative lengths to get under Batman's skin and really
get his
test
attention,
his metal, to get his attention. But like he still exists and he would still hurt people even if Batman wasn't there.
And to the same degree as well. It's just like the difference is that with Batman there, the point of Joker's crimes becomes to get under Batman's skin. But if Batman didn't exist, those crimes would still be happening, just in slightly different ways and aimed at a slightly different audience. Because Joker's whole existence is philosophical. Essentially, the battle between him and Batman is a philosophical battle over whether the reality matters and whether morals exist and all sorts of things. That doesn't go away if Batman doesn't exist. It's just that Batman provides a lightning rod for him to like focus on.
Yeah.
But Batman, so at the end of the day, does have influence, though. We can agree to that.
Yeah, but
I mean, he's a fucking vigilante running around the city. Like, yeah, he is taking also, he's taking like actions that are making waves. Like, yes, that is true. Thank you.
Okay.
But also, you could flip this around though. Like, you could be like, well, Batman is theatrical because of the nature of the criminals that attacked him and his parents, and like what he was taught by Ra's al Ghul or what he was taught on his travels. Like, Batman's theatricality isn't just like an idea that came to Bruce one day. It's a direct response to the nature of the problem he was fighting.
He needed a symbol because everything was just that bad. Yeah, I get what you mean.
And also because, as he points out, like the criminal underworld is superstitious and cowardly. Like these are people who operate in the shadows, who prey on the fearful, who use fear as a weapon to prey on the fearful. All he did was turn the tables on them by making himself an urban legend because he had to, because that's really the only way one guy stands a chance against a whole mob. The problem was that like once the mob started being beaten into submission, that left a vacuum for other crazy and inspired people like Batman to like step into. But they were there all the time anyway.
Yeah, that I agree. Yeah, that I agree with for sure. They just manifested differently.
Yeah, basically. Like he obviously influenced them, but he didn't create them. He didn't definitely make them worse. I'm pretty sure actually like doesn't the animated series literally have an entire episode dedicated to this premise where like Batman gets put on trial in Arkham by the criminals, and they're all arguing that they only exist because he does, and Batman's quote unquote lawyer basically points out that that's bullshit.
Do you think that's what people mean then? They mistake create for manifest? differently, like manifest differently for create?
I just don't think a lot of writers and a lot of fans have particularly nuanced views on characters.
They don't even think that far.
We just went over how nuance doesn't exist, Slav. Like, no.
It's over for me, dude.
What is this nuance of which you
I have no literacy, my bad.
But yes. Anyway,
No media
Penguin as
literacy.
a show, very good. Muchos recomendos.
Two
It is
slam dunks
excellent.
from Matt
You
Reeves
should check it out.
for the Batman
Yep. Mhm.
universe. We're 2 for 2 right now.
He's a good director. Cause didn't he also do one of the Planet of the Apes movies, the one that actually is good?
He's done. No, he did Dawn and War, which were both great.
Yeah.
Like phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like the reason why I was hyped for the Batman was because I found that he was the director and he did like basically the 2 best Planet of the Apes movies. So
Yeah, I was gonna say like one very specific scene I remember from those movies that made me hyped for his Batman was the scene. I think it's War, right? War for the Planet of the Apes, where Cobra is like leading the apes to attack the humans, and like yeah, as like Dawn. And there's a camera shot where like he's on a tank gun and the gun is just swiveling.
Yes.
And you're following the camera's POV on the gun. I was like, that's really good. I was very hyped for Batman after I saw that.
Chief, you have to do we have to do watch parties of the Planet of the Apes trilogy. The Rise, Dawn, War trilogy.
You'll have to wait. There's so much we need to get them through first.
Yeah,
I know.
like
Add it to the list.
Add it to the fucking throw it on the pile.
I've got to see Chief.
Take a ticket and wait your turn.
Southpaw, you were also want to do a watch party for the fucking substance, so I don't know if I necessarily want to do watch parties with you anymore.
we did watch parties of Crudes 2 and the Wild Robot was the most recent one that we did, right?
Yeah, that movie was good. Everyone go watch The Wild Robot.
So yeah. Give me credit where it's due.
We're now moving to a conversation that is best off stream. I think this is a Penguin stream.
I wanted to go ahead and round this out, unless anyone had anything else to say. So,
I'm good.
No.
First things first, what to expect from the channel? Because like someone way earlier at the beginning of the stream asked about my Attack of the Clones video. It's done. It's on my channel. I'm just waiting for my copyright appeal to go through. It should do that tomorrow, at which point I will put it out for my members, and then 2 days after that, it will be available publicly. So expect it on like the 28th at the earliest, which just so happens to be Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone! Gobble, gobble.
Give thanks for Attack of the Clones is here.
Yeah, Attack of the Clones video to round out Thanksgiving with the fam. I'm sure you'll all be putting that on while dinner's happening.
And then I guess at some point in December before we're doing Arcane Season 2, right?
Yeah, so I'm working on a video for that as well, which won't be out until early December. But then also, yeah, we're going to do an Arcane Season 2 breakdown to talk about that, because that just came out, and it was a show.
It exists. It
happened.
did things.
It certainly
when we say we're
released.
going to have an Arcane Season 2 breakdown, we just mean that I'm going to have a breakdown live on air.
It's going to be me screaming at the top.
I'm just going to smoke 500 cigarettes.
There'll be the section of Sheev's video, which is like, actually, Jolly's got a few thoughts, and it'll just be me screaming incoherently for like 30 straight seconds.
I'll just cut to a pre-recorded video of you just like taking a cardboard cutout of Vi and just like throwing it into a wood chipper.
Actually, what I need to do is like create a little animation of just like my little imp's legs hanging just in shot and swinging slowly, and then you're like, we're gonna cut to what Jolly thinks, and it's just like me just swinging. You're like, oh,
over to you, Jolly. Thanks, Jolly. So yeah, we got Attack of the Clones video coming out at the end of this month. Arcane video as well as stream to be expected early December, and also Skeleton Crew comes out early December, so I'm sure we'll be covering that at some point next month or maybe January.
No.
Did you enjoy how one of the creators was like, oh, this suburb world was the jewel of the old Republic?
Like, what do you fucking mean?
Nothing. It's very American to think that the suburbs are the jewel of all civilization. I'll give them that. It's a very American perspective.
I don't want to think about Star Wars. We were talking about the Penguin. Penguin's good. Everyone watch Penguin.
All right. Go watch Pingu. Pingu was good.
as for the other thing I want to say to close out, Andrew, Southpaw, Slov, and Jolly, all their socials and everything else can be found in the description. Do you guys have any like upcoming projects you want to plug while we're here?
No, I don't want to promise anything right now because again, like I am working on things. I have been for like over a year at this point, but like I have a very busy work life. You've no idea, like postdoc, man.
Crazy, yeah.
Like just for just to explain, like not only am I teaching classes, not only am I doing research and doing other people's research, and I'm also going to like 4 conferences before Christmas in various different parts of the country and abroad. So I am busy. They are being worked on. They are coming out. I will be doing things, and also I help Sheev obviously on his stuff as well. So as does Southpaw.
Southpaw helps me edit. He helped me edit the Attack of the Clones video, so that'll be you'll be seeing that as well on Thanksgiving.
I had a lot of fun with. I had a lot of fun with doing this one.
Yeah, because I gave you the fun section to edit through. He got to edit over me bitching
section.
about the botched assassination attempts by Zam and Django. You got the fun shit.
Yeah, but I mean, I threw in a little bonus, for you.
Any individual projects coming up for you there, Southpaw?
I mean, I've got the ones that I've said I wanted to do for forever. I've got a pretty important stream that I'll be doing with Mavicate in probably a few months from now. I think Sheev said that he'll be there for at least a part of it.
Yes.
We're just gonna say it's important. But we're not gonna go into what it is right now. Okay.
Yeah.
The Nosferatu popcorn bucket. Okay, I need that.
Andrew?
What the hell?
Bro really wants that popcorn bucket.
Still.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Andrew, he's got stuff
Andrew.
he's working on, I'm sure. Like I think he said
Andrew's
an Arcane
working
video.
on an Arcane video. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's doing something. Anyway, bye.
I'm working on a rewrite specifically.
Yes, he was mentioning that earlier
If you can
before
still
we
hear
started
me.
the stream. Yes, we can.
I'd like to go over that with you at some point, Andrew, because I have many thoughts for rewrites, and I'd be intrigued to hear what yours are. Are you still doing your Red Dead Redemption streams, by the way, or are they on hold?
Well, I was gonna do one. I was thinking of doing one after this, but then my internet went out, so that's not happening. So yes, I'll play it sometime.
Slav, what do you got?
All right then.
Nothing. I do school. I'm a student.
You watch stuff.
That too. I watch stuff.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what your Twitter bio says. Is I watch stuff.
It says I watch stuff, but I post more about like books now.
Stuff that you read. Yeah.
Based.
Yeah.
Based.
Fraud.
Honestly based.
I'm currently
read more books,
reading.
lads.
What's that?
Let's read more books, lads.
Yeah, I'm currently reading Arthur Golding's translation of Metamorphosis.
Oh, nice.
And I'm going through Shakespeare's catalog.
Another thing coming out next month is Nosferatu. That's coming out on Christmas.
Oh, yes.
Jolly, I might pull you into just like an impromptu live stream breaking that movie down after I get back from like visiting my family on Christmas and go see the movie. Might
I'll
just be
see the
like
movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you can be part of that too. It's not going to be any kind of like prepare notes or anything. Like I'm just going to be like, hey, I'm doing this. Come to the stream.
I mean, honestly, the stream that I'm most looking forward to, like for this channel, will be Juror number 2.
Yeah,
I'm really hyped about that movie.
Oh yeah, so I don't know when we're gonna do that, but we're gonna do it. We're probably waiting till after it comes out on streaming, right? Is what we said.
Yeah, so it comes out on Max on December 20th.
So maybe
we could theoretically do it.
That'll probably not be till January then. Just gonna be completely fucking real with you. We got so much shit on the docket.
Yeah.
But it's okay.
Good.
Jolly and I didn't do our menu stream until what, like 8 months after the movie came out.
Yeah, which by the way, if you haven't seen that, go watch it. It's good.
Go watch the menu. All right. Anyway,
watch the menu.
Thank you all very much for watching. This has been a blast. Wi-Fi issues aside.
Thank you very much for inviting us on, Sheev. As always, it's been an enormous fun and a great pleasure. And yeah, thank you, chat, for listening to our rambles about media. We hope they've been informative and that you might check out some of the things we recommend because they are good. And you know that because I am